This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, 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 dun.
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
I love that laugh, and she's here with us, Lindsay. I love that laugh. Welcome to DBL. Hi, Jeff's
Hey, I'm here
Jeff's
too.
also here.
Hey, everybody. Just like I'm at home.
Does it feel natural?
Yeah, absolutely.
We want it to feel natural. Hello, everyone. We're grateful you're here with us. It's been more than a week now since the war in Ukraine started, and one thing that's very different in this war, all the viral videos that show really what it's what it's like up close. It's very hard to kind of talk about this. Like this dash cam video that captures, see? A missile strike with clouds of black smoke. The driver turns his car around. Another video shows a Russian soldier carrying what looks to be a grenade or several through a crowd of Ukrainians. Some say he was threatening to kill them if they didn't surrender. Others say he did it to prevent being taken hostage. There's also this video of an emotional Russian soldier drinking tea and eating food offered by Ukrainians. He also cries while talking to his mom on a video chat. Meantime, a number of mega yachts, let's cry our tears into our dollar bills, owned by rich and powerful Russian oligarchs, have been seized by France and Germany. What do you think about this war being played out in like real time? Because in some ways it feels like a video game a bit, which we've talked about before on this. And in some ways it's like crowdsourcing the war, which in the, that helps you be right there. What do you think, Linz?
I think social media, this is one of the reasons why social media has benefited us, because it's been able to show us normally oppressed situations and shed light on them. And so now Russia can't make up the fact that they were being antagonized and so they attacked. We can see real time exactly what's going on and see that there are people fighting back for their country, see that people aren't just like, we're not exacerbating what's happening over there. You can see the bombs happening in civilian towns. You can see them happening at apartment buildings, in maternity wards. And so this is, even though it's disheartening and heartbreaking, we can see exactly what's going on and decide how to move accordingly. The United Nations, everybody, but it's not like what they want to tell us in politicians and what they want to tell us behind the closed doors in the meetings they're having. It's what we all can see when we just get on social media. So I think that it's a good thing, and it just breaks my heart that we're stuck in a hard place, because if we do more, everyone also feels strongly about getting involved in another war. But watching this happen, then you also feel helpless watching all these things happen. It's kind of like,
well said.
Is anybody going to step in? Is anybody going to do anything?
Yeah, and you have to open your eyes, and I think America will open their eyes to how the rest of the world runs very differently, right? Depending on what country you go to. And in the past, the wars were run by communist leaders, and they were told things and given propaganda that, hey, Americans are bad, just like North Korea. This is what people are, and this is why you have to fight them. When you have social media and you could see things around the world and your leaders telling you to go get these Ukrainian people, and then they show you their heart and we're going to help you despite the fact that you're here to kill us, the humanity of it all, when you're seeing that play out on your social media accounts, or it's very ironic and a very different war that we're fighting as opposed to the past when people were angry about something. Putin's just telling these guys, hey, go in there and kill them for his own
ego.
Right.
Ego.
And no one,
ego.
Just to kill innocent people. It's like, I can't wrap my head around it, and I don't think a lot of people can. And I feel like you said, I'm going to be saying this a lot. People just think we're playing a video game. Why don't you just go in there and do this or do that? It's life. Travel a little bit. See how other people live, and you'll maybe understand a little bit more.
I thought about you, actually, when I saw that, and maybe some of you also thought this. She gave the soldier food because he was so hungry. When you break bread with someone and like have tea with someone, that simple gesture is like connecting them on such a human level, and then letting him call his mom.
Right.
It's like they're just young kids, being sent
and they're told to go do their job.
For one man's land grab. It's a very strange situation.
Also, and I know that we were making light of the mega yachts, crying your dollars, and that's a real point because nobody cares about the mega yacht. But the bigger picture with that is the money. So people, Putin's friends are not like your everyday pedestrian.
Yeah.
They're the rich people, and once they're getting affected, they're going to go directly to him and make him do something. So not only have we cut off the airspace, are we making the Russian dollar amount to basically nothing.
The ruble's crashed.
Exactly. Yeah, not Russian dollar, ruble, making it amount to nothing. Now we are telling the rich people who have their money dispersed in many countries, okay, it's your problem too now. So every everyone, even his friends, are on the phone with him like, do something now.
Yeah.
Stop this now.
I agree, and I know 2 of the oligarchs are already calling him saying we're switching sides, because once you take their things away, it's like it's gone. Interesting. Let us know what you guys think. Would love to hear you on YouTube and our app. But let's take a minute to talk about the man responsible for the war. Jeff and I were alluding to it. It's Vladimir Putin, obviously. There are a number of people from certain
We weren't alluding to it. He's the guy.
Yeah, good call. Good call. I don't know why I'm scared to like talk about it, because he's a scary guy.
That's understandable.
Yeah. There are a number of people from certain right-wing news outlets who are now suggesting that the answer to stopping Putin is to assassinate him. They're asking, why not just take him out? They said it would put an end to all the death and horrible atrocities taking place across Ukraine. So the question is, are we doing enough to stop Putin? And are they right that taking him out is a good way to end the war? Again, none of us here are advocating for violence. We're simply discussing the strategy of that. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, Lindsay.
I think deciding to agitate Putin is different than in other cases where we wanted to help out the people that we felt were oppressed. We might provide weapons and do these things. I think every single step we take, we have to think about in detail, knowing that Putin is a knee-jerk reactor, and that if he wants to, obviously I don't think he's going to make it to the point where he's sending nuclear weapons all the way over here and they're making it here, but he has that threat, and he can try to find the closest place to do that with and start to threaten them. And so it'll turn into a world war, which nobody wants. And so I think we have to move cautiously, but he is committing war crimes. So waiting until this is all done and then bringing it to some trial where we're talking about should Putin be charged for war crimes is like not going to be enough when Ukrainians are dying by the minute and they're losing their families. I don't think anybody's going to be satisfied with just knowing that he did what he wanted to do. It ended how it ended.
That's such a fair thing. And before you speak, I want to just say Michael from Twitter wrote in and said, so Putin is committing war crimes. We sent in a team to kill bin Laden. We killed Soleimani with a drone strike. Why not kill someone who is at least as evil? Again, different wars, different situations of context. But what do you think in response to that?
I think it's something everybody thought. We started, I don't know, I don't like when things are political, right? We say the people from the right wing. I'm sure there's people from the left wing that also asking the same question. So I don't like to split things up like that. How about just people are asking, why don't we kill him? First of all, we're not war generals. We don't know why or the repercussions that might have. And I think that's the number one reason is the repercussions. Number two, say Biden did approve that. Now you got blood on your hands, right? You send a team of Navy SEALs, whoever it is, to go in there. They get captured by the Russians. They decapitate them on YouTube. The soldiers that we sent in, how's that going to play out for Biden? Not very good, right? So there are people in place, generals, military, that know what they're doing on this. I'm sure if it was an option, they would play it out. Us as the people to ask these questions, what these generals are doing, I'm sure there's a reason why or why not they do things.
Do either of you think we should put boots on the ground, which I know is a common thing to say? It just means literally have soldiers in Ukraine. The vast majority of Americans don't want that. Do either of you think at this point we need to have some soldiers there?
I mean, I think that it would be nice to help them, but it's also understanding that if we do that, that means war for Russia. Putin said specifically that. He said anything that you do to sanction me, but I think specifically putting a boot on the ground saying that you're joining this fight means you want to fight me as well. And so knowing that and knowing how he behaves,
and how many nuclear
that terrifies me.
Power, yeah.
And is it up to the U.S.? That's a question that I ask, and we could leave it on that. But is it up to the U.S. to get involved in every world issue and put our soldiers at risk and get boots on the ground? We just got to have a 20-year war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now we're talking about going back into somewhere else. That isn't our problem, but I don't know.
That's why I'm confused. That is a philosophical global debate that's been going on for years and years. Do we act as the world's police or not? And it's a great question. It's a great question.
A lot of people refer to me as Plato.
You're not. Coming up on DBL, our interview with the amazing Harvey Fierstein. Hello, Cookies. He's opening up to DBL about his gender identity and what his message for kids are today. Plus, Florida's governor scolds a group of students. Have y'all seen this? For wearing masks. Was this bullying? Talk to us.
Closed captioning provided by
This March, connect with Al, Lindsay, Erica, Jeff, and Tori. Exciting! Real conversations are on DBL.
Man, you guys want all the smoke with these hard questions.
DBL, all new every day.
The U.S. gets involved and then Russia decides to attack one of our allies knowing that we're going to react. We're making a decision when we put boots on the ground for everybody. Which is why we can't just...
we'd also expect all the NATO countries to also put boots on the ground. Right. And then now we're in a world war.
I feel you. Got you.
So,
I do want to bring this up.
It's easy to say, let's go assassinate that guy, but if you do that, you're kind of pushing yourself into that world war.
No,
is that what we want
100%.
to,
And I think many Americans feel what you think is after Afghanistan, the last thing we want is another ground war. I completely agree with you. I just want to also say, Gerald Ford, thank you to our Emily, our fact checker, in 1976 made it an order for it's illegal for U.S. to carry out political assassinations unless we're at war with them.
Yeah.
So it's an important thing to note, although there have been assassinations.
You have to give that to someone that knew.
That makes perfect sense, right? There's reasons in place why we do things and why we don't do things.
Exactly,
to that
because then
exact
are we
point.
war criminals, right?
But then everyone's a producer when it comes to TV shows. Everyone's a war general when it comes to Iraq. You know what I mean? It's like
Totally. And I have to be honest with you, and this is maybe in the D.C. area, but if federal intelligence has been seen as really bad lately after Afghanistan and the war and the weapons of mass destruction, they've been having a bad reputation lately, the intelligence service in D.C. So far in this war, they have outdone themselves with knowing what will happen before it happens and carefully and like with a scalpel have sent in specific troops to take care of things like some SEAL teams on the ground. So I'm really impressed with the intelligence service from this war as opposed to the last war, which I hate
But not,
saying.
you're talking about the last war, the SEAL team. They didn't send anybody
They
in
have
here.
British troops and U.S. troops that are in special ops on the ground in Ukraine. In Ukraine. Welcome back. All right, as more and more states are dropping mask mandates in schools, some administrators are concerned that students who choose to wear masks could become targets for bullies. Given how politicized masks have become, some folks can't help but call out people who wear masks. So speaking of which, we want to check out this video that many of you probably have seen. This was Ron DeSantis. He's the Florida governor at the start of a press conference. Take a look.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We got to stop it. Governor just got it. So if you want to wear it, it's fine, but this is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous?
Talk to me.
I just think like when you're going home, your parents are still asking you to wear masks, to be considerate. Like for us, we have people come over, we have a lot of young kids in our family. Parents ask them, they're from Texas, to wear their masks because they're about to come around my kid. Like for him to say it's ridiculous and try to shame people for making a decision when it's open to the decision is frustrating, especially as a leader. And these are kids that are just doing what their parents probably told them to please do.
What about people who think, and I'm not saying I do, who think this is somewhat of theater? We're ebbing, we're waning on the COVID problem. We don't need the masks. And I think it makes a statement if I take it off and these kids have been brainwashed. What about those people? Do they have a say in this?
I think that's one of their weapons on their side, right? And here's to Lindsay's point, I think is more what we need to talk about. Because we're so confused as American public.
Right.
As states, not even America, break it down into states, then break it down into counties.
Yeah,
because I live in a different county than work here, and I went into a Trader Joe's across the street that we always go to. I forgot my mask. Where I live, I don't have to wear a mask. I usually wear a mask. I just forgot it this time.
Right.
I was shopping, and someone came up to me very rudely, maybe thinking I forgot my Trump hat in my car, and was like, "Here's your mask, sir." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I have one in my pocket." And he goes, "Oh," and I'm like, "I didn't know because where I live, I don't have to wear it." So I put it on. He's like, "Oh, okay, well," but he was making a point very rudely to attack me because he thought I was on the other side.
And I don't think you have to make the point rudely, but
you don't have to
I
make
do
the
think
point
that,
like
if you, like me, had COVID, or if you've been affected or lost people to COVID, then it's a little bit irritable. You get irritable when the rules keep changing. And when we had this huge wave that just ended like a month ago, and then they're like, okay, everybody come in, it's over a day. Like nothing changed. People are still getting COVID. And so whether it's the mask, the vaccine, or whatever you decide, like how are you protecting yourself and in turn protecting me? Because I'm protecting you by having my mask on, because it's not about the person wearing the mask, right? It's about the other people. And so it's like keeping your germs away, especially if you're dealing with anybody sensitive. And so a lot of my family members, I'll say, are super sensitive to the fact that they don't want to get COVID again when we all had it. It's very frustrating, especially the older people in my family are like, that was not good, and let's just try to stay healthy. Even though we might have 6 weeks of savior, and hopefully that'll get us to the summer, we don't want to get sick because somebody just doesn't feel like being safe because their law says they don't have to.
But shouting and shaming at people depending on either side you're on. If I'm wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, if you shout at me or shame me, I'm going to do the opposite of what you tell me because I don't want you getting in my business. And that's just me. I'm very confrontational. And if you're going to come up to me and shame me when I legitimately forgot something or didn't forget and just accuse me of being this on this side or on this side, I don't like that. And I think that's what America's frustrated about.
There's a lot of response to that. I've always wanted a federal mandate from the beginning to avoid all of this, but I know a lot of people are against me. But that's what I was trying to avoid by saying that. All right, coming up on DBL, Broadway legend Harvey Fierstein. He's telling us all about the showbiz struggles he wrote about in his new memoir. Look at that beautiful guy.
The pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Daniel, hi.
Could you make me a woman?
Honey, I'm so happy. Oh, come here.
I knew you'd understand.
Plus, he weighed in on anti-trans law and how parents of trans youth could face charges of child abuse. Here's what Harvey had to say.
So Harvey, I really want to hear your opinion. We were just talking about the anti-trans laws. As someone who fought for gay rights during the AIDS epidemic, we would love to hear from you.
Well, I got a lot to say, and I don't buy the book. But Gloria Steinem, who's one of my heroes, she wrote a book on self-esteem where she actually says children, even with the most wonderful parents in the world, don't have the language to actually express what they need, what they want. So children are struggling to say. So it is the parent's job to listen to a child, but even the best parents are going to leave those children with little holes in them of need. We're now talking about listening to children on a very difficult subject. This is not something we used to talk about. We never talked about sexuality, but we had the whole sexual revolution and all that. We got beyond the fact that homosexuality is normal, that we're all normal, that different kinds of sex are normal. We're beyond that. The kids have now decided it's time to talk about gender. Everyone's scared to gender. It was bad enough they want to talk about sex. Now we have to talk about gender. Who's in my bathroom? Who's using my bathroom? Right. Most people are frightened of change. So we need to put our arms around them and tell them it's going to be okay.
There you go.
It's going to be okay, girl.
Yeah, and that's why your memoir is so important. And
Exactly.
in it, you actually talk about when you were growing up, you questioned your own gender. If you were a kid today, do you think that you'd identify with being transgender, or what would you say to other children?
I got it. There's a line in Short Song Trilogy, the play that I wrote, and the line is, I got enough trouble with the what nows without starting in on the what ifs. I don't know. I'm almost 70 years old. I've been through it. And I don't know. I don't want to be a kid again or even wonder. What I want to do is listen to the young people, because the young people will guide us to where we need to go.
Well, Harvey, we want to listen to you and read you. First of all, this book, the cover is amazing. Your portrait is amazing. When you first...
Well, that's a picture on the back. Well, back to picture on the back. Look at that dress.
Beautiful. Okay. Let's talk about the duality here. But first, you wrote about when you first got into theater. Can you share a story from your book?
My friend Philomena, and we're still friends now. We've been friends since kindergarten. She was assigned, we were doing Sleeping Beauty, and she was assigned the evil witch. And I was given the role of the king. Who wants to play the king? Wrap crown, you know, and a bedspread dragging behind you. But she got to have green skin and red lips, and we went to the candy store and we got her those long black licorice fingernails. I wanted to be the evil witch. It made me. So when it came to Halloween, I painted myself all up in drag, looked at myself in the mirror and went, "This is dangerous." I knew this was dangerous.
Hey, if you want to hear more stories, all you have to do is pick up his book.
Yes.
It's right here. Thank you so much for joining us, Harvey. DBL Nation, be sure to pick up your copy of his memoir, I Was Better Last Night. We'll be right back.
Bye, Harvey.
Thank you.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by...
Warning for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Tarosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the central bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
What time is it? Oh, yeah, it's your favorite time of the week. Get ready for these deals. You're not going to want to miss them. Sweet, sweet deals.
I'm glad I came back to the desk for this.
All right, for our friends at Morning Save, you can leave and go get coffee. Enjoy. Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Tori, and hey, DBL Nation. I have got some wonderful products and even better deals just for you, and I cannot wait to share them. So, first up, we've got Vanity Planet Work It Digital Scale and Body Analyzer.
Ooh.
So, this goes way beyond the standard scale by measuring weight, body fat percentage, muscle mass, bone density, and water weight. So, normally, it's $145. We've got it for only $39, saving you guys 73%. Now, Tori, we've got Danielle Creations 6-piece facial cleansing system. This deal includes 2 soft bristle brushes, 1 silicone brush, 1 buffing sponge, 1 automatic facial cleansing wand, and 1 travel case. Normally, this is as much as $40, but we've got it, Tori, for only $19. That's a saving of 53%. Now, Tori, we've got the Fat Freezer Platinum Slimming Belt.
Gimme.
So you can chill out, literally, with this non-invasive fat freezing device. So normally, these are $150, but we've got it for $79, saving up to 47%. And last but certainly not least, we've got Adrienne Vitadini Chain and Lock Detail Crossbody.
Oh.
So this deal includes 1 crossbody, and we've got it available in 4 colors: blush, ivory, black, and taupe. So normally, this bag is as much as $178, but this price is $29, saving everyone 84%.
Head on over, everyone, to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. You can even visit morningsave.com right on your smartphone. Thank you so much, Steph. Some very good products. I do want to say there's an executive order from 1976, Gerald Ford, president at the time, that made it illegal for U.S. to actually carry out political assassinations unless we're at war. So we don't want to then become the war criminals ourselves. So I think that's a good point you both were making about they know what they're doing up at top and we're not war generals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a deep topic to get into for 5 seconds left on the show.
Yes.
But I have a lot of thoughts.
Tell me everything. DVL's New Every Day. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. We're so grateful you joined us. Bye, guys. Appreciate it.
Good.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So, let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So No, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Here's what we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Heartbreaking images out of Ukraine as a soldier calls his mom to tell her he's okay, while another soldier walks through the streets with grenades. When will this war end? Florida's governor scolds students for wearing masks. Was this bullying? Kanye West takes another shot at Pete Davidson in a shocking new music video. Did he take it too far? And a grandma's dating red flags list goes viral.
If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No.
Nope. Y'all, just stop.
Finally here, drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Lots to talk about today. It has been more than a week now since the war in Ukraine started. And one thing that's very different in this war, all the viral videos that show what it's like up close, like this dash cam video that captures a missile strike with clouds of black smoke. The driver turns his car around. Another video shows a Russian soldier, I know you must have seen this, it's been everywhere, carrying what looks to be grenades through a crowd of Ukrainians. Some say he was threatening to kill them if they didn't surrender. Others say he did it to prevent being taken hostage. There's also this video of an emotional Russian soldier drinking tea and eating food offered by Ukrainians. He also cries while talking to his mother on a video chat. Meantime, a number of mega yacht owners by rich and powerful Russian oligarchs have been seized by France and Germany. Again, totally different war, right? We talked about this earlier. What do you make of all this, Erica? And also all these viral videos?
Yeah, I think it's important that we are seeing these things in real time. I mean, anyone who watches any of this, I mean, you think about how difficult life is just in general. And you have your livelihood and your routine and all of that to just be taken away and what that looks like. You know, that is not just someone random person, like that's someone who could actually be you. And I talked about this yesterday in terms of the empathy, not only in this situation, but all of the nations, countries, communities that are under fire, under attack, under oppression. You know, this is a very real moment that people are feeling compelled to stop down and think about, at least think about what life would be like and maybe have some empathy that way.
Yeah, I think it humanizes people, to jump off of what Erica said. You see these videos of that Russian soldier being taken care of by Ukrainian people, right? When you think of the wars of the past, you think of communist countries being taught, having propaganda to hate one country or another because of whatever reason. With social media now, you're seeing the humanization of what this soldier's going through. Him talking to his mom, but you were there to kill these people, and now these people are taking care of you. What a I don't know, very symbolic, that moment. Also, the soldier saying goodbye to his family. I mean, you see these moments, and then when you think about we're in 2022, how could these moments happen? Why do you want to go kill somebody for no reason? Because they're a different race, color, sexuality, country, etc. It just really, I can't wrap my head around it. And I think that's why
Jeff,
people are confused.
we're seeing that they don't.
Yeah.
Right. You know, they don't. And I think that's because we have put a human face on it. I think when you
What do you think about the new tactics, though? Because I'm curious to hear your point of view of that. You're very cerebral, right?
I try
and
to
this is you are. This is a very cerebral way of fighting a war. They're going after oligarchs' yachts, things like that. Those are his buddies. Do you think those type of tactics are enough?
Well, we're going to find out, Sam. That's what we're going to find out if this can overcome just general propaganda that's been used to kind of start and propagate every war. Now we're going to see if videos like that young man talking to his mother, if videos like bombs going off near hospitals and maternity wards not only turn public sentiment in Russia, in Ukraine, but all over the world, in his cabinet. Because I think we're seeing now the humanity on both sides, because we see the humanity with that young man, but we also see that the oligarchs don't really spark up until you start talking about taking their yachts away.
Right.
When you're talking about 10,000, 100,000 people dying, They don't care. Hey, it's from Mother Russia. But when you start touching those super yachts, now it's like, hey, what are we doing here? So it kind of shows you where your leaders' priorities are. So not what they say, but how they react to when something's threatened with them.
Well said. Speaking, you talked about their leader. Let's talk a minute about the man responsible for this war, Russian President Vladimir Putin. There are a number of people from certain right-wing news outlets who are suggesting that the answer to stopping Putin is to assassinate him. They're asking, why not just take him out? They say it would put an end to all the death and horrible atrocities taking place across Ukraine. So the question is, and we've talked about this, but let's continue the conversation. Are we doing enough to stop Putin? And are they right that taking him out is a good way to end the war? What do you think, Jeff?
First of all, I think people, I don't know if we need to say what political party they're from. I think everybody's asking the question, why don't we just take Putin out? It's as easy as that. It's not as easy as that, right? There's generals in place. They know what's going on. There's repercussions. It's actually legal for war to just assassinate somebody. Illegal, I'm sorry. So we can't even do that legally, right? So we can't do that. But the point I wanted to make, which I totally forgot right now, and I wanted to get, I had a good point, and I totally forgot, I swear.
I'll just mention, while you're thinking about it, just because you mentioned how it is illegal, I just want people to know that an executive order from 1976 made it illegal for the U.S. to carry out political assassinations. Now, there is an alleged there is an alleged, I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe we can get confirmation that there's $1 million hit on Putin with Russian individuals. So that takes us out of it. But then again, you also don't want to push someone to start a nuclear war.
You also don't want to tweet about it if you are going to assassinate somebody.
Right.
That would just be my thought.
Quickly, my thing was, if we do send soldiers over there and something happened to them and they ended up on YouTube being decapitated or whatever, or they died, how would that look to the American government, right? And you're kind of pushing a button when you go to assassinate somebody. So that's where the point I was making that I said so eloquently.
What do you think, Erica?
I'm just listening because I honestly, this conversation makes me so uncomfortable. So I'm listening to understand like what your perspectives are, because I don't have a perspective on it. I feel very strongly about talking about anything on someone's life. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be in, and I think that we're not.
I have to just push back on that. Not to say that I feel a certain way, and I'm just really quickly, I got a confirmation from our producer that it's a Russian businessman that put a bounty on Putin. The fact that there are documented assassinations, torturing, poisoning of innocent people in Russia, and that Ukraine has already lost civilian lives, and that they could lose all of Ukraine if Putin had his way. For a lot of people, as callous as it sounds to talk about someone's life, I'm with you, Erica, and a bounty and assassinations, a lot of people feel like, well, what about all these people that he's already killed and that he's about to kill? So I think, I think it's an okay conversation to have.
I'm not saying that it's not an okay conversation to have. I'm just saying that my discomfort, I'm very uncomfortable talking about it, simply because, I mean, look at, like, let's just take it super fundamentally down to, let's say it was a neighborhood and you had someone who was running this neighborhood and no one else would ever try to take away their power because that person is just that powerful. Well, you can take that dude out, but there's going to be a dude right below him who now has to prove that he's bigger and badder than that other dude. So it's like, you know, it's like, it seems like the answer, but the truth is whoever comes up behind him is going to flex their muscle even more, because guess what? Putin wasn't really the man. I'm the man. So that's what I'm thinking about anytime we have these conversations. So it is uncomfortable for a lot of reasons, because I don't think that we as a nation are that far behind. We're already divided as it is, and this is a problem. So when we continue to have these conversations like this always affects somebody else, okay, cool. But when it's in our backyard where it's creeping up anyway, now we have to get real about what's happening here. Humanity is a great conversation if we're all willing to admit that we have it.
I was listening to you talk, and that's really, as you were talking, I started thinking about our failed war on terror. And it's almost the same thing when you're trying to fight against an ideology, not a person. We were like, oh, we're going to take bin Laden out. It's going to be great after that. It's not. It's the way people feel. You have to remove that from people in order to move forward. Killing a figurehead will only make them a martyr and make their message stronger. Because that almost solidifies, like, oh, they had to kill this person because what they were saying is right. So I understand the initial sentiment to just remove that issue, but the issue is that they're saying something that's resonating with a lot of people and has for a long time. And until we fight against the idea of what those people support and what Putin stands for, we're going to be right back here again with the stronger guy, with the younger guy, or woman, anybody that's willing to do more than Putin was. So, I mean, it
sounds like disinformation is the key. I mean, you talked about propaganda, you talked about brainwashing. That's exactly what you said. We don't know what that narrative has been like for the Russian people. When you brought up that viral video of the Russian soldier, he was saying, oh my gosh, I've been duped in Russian. And then it was translated in so many words that he has been duped because for so long they've been watching Russian state TV and told this is what we need to do, this is our country. So I think we need to remember that the disinformation that we talk about all the time on social media or whatever, wherever it may be, look what happened with, the insurrection. So that's what I think we need to be in control of globally, because then you're not going to get minions to follow their leader if they know what's really up. Well, that was a good conversation.
Great call.
All right, coming up on DBL, a new music video from Kanye West is being called disturbing. And did he go too far? Many of you guys are wondering if his jabs at Pete Davidson is, crossing the line. Plus, the most commonly hacked passwords. Find out if you're setting yourself up as a target online. Plus, Florida's governor scolds a group of students for wearing masks. Was this bullying?
Closed captioning provided by...
This March, connect with Al, Tori, Erica, Jeff, and Sam. Oh my gosh, real conversations are on DBL.
Man, you guys want all the smoke with these hard questions.
Yeah. DBL, all new, every day.
We're on.
I wanted to hear more from you, Jeff. What are you thinking?
I kind of said what I was thinking. I don't think are we going to stay on that? I don't think assassinating Putin is the answer, right? Okay. Legally, you can't do it. And what
about from Russia's standpoint, not from our standpoint? Because there's some Russian businessmen that are trying to handle things their own way.
Listen, we as a country can't be involved in the world's problems all the time. I understand we want to go there. I understand we want to stop this man, but it's not the United States' job to be involved. If they get in one of our allied countries, which is NATO, which is on the eastern border of Ukraine, if they get into there, we're going to step in. Until they do that, I don't think it's our job to necessarily step in. But I think a lot of people watch movies, they see these things, they play video games, and they think this is how real life plays out. And that's not how it does play out. Sadly, there's going to be casualties. This is war. It's been happening since the world began, and you have to let it play out before we step in.
And just how casual people are thrown around, like the idea of assassinating.
Yeah, it's like
there's a saying: if you come for the king, you better not miss. And there's a reason for that. It was also the title of one of my favorite episodes of The Wire. But it's like when they try to kill him, and it's like when they miss.
Every time I hear that show, I think about
when he jumped out of that window and lived, it's like, well, now the neighborhood's going to be on fire because you just tried to kill the man, and it's the same thing.
But
same
what if you educated
that
neighborhood? What if you educate Russia? And I don't mean educate.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Tell them about what's going on.
Because of the
whose job is that?
Disinformation.
Whose job is that?
I think TikTok is doing it.
I think it's our. Everyone's going to say this is a slippery slope and it's an infringement on rights. I really do think we need to have stronger regulation when it comes to disinformation globally, because we're all connected now.
But then
you can't
just.
But if you have then what? You're going to go into North Korea and tell them what to do? I mean, it's like you can't monitor the whole.
What if those companies do it though? Welcome back. As more and more states are dropping mask mandates in schools, some administrators are concerned that students who choose to wear masks could become targets for bullies. Given how politicized masks have become, some folks can't help but call out people who wear masks. Speaking of which, check out what happened at the start of a press conference for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please think about it. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We got to stop it. The governor just got it. So if you want to wear it, it's fine, but this is ridiculous.
Wow. All right. So does making masks a choice? Okay, Erica, you have an expression on your face. Go.
That's a meme.
It's just, I mean,
yeah.
Seriously.
What's bothering you?
It's just the arrogance. It's like if someone wants to wear a mask.
Or not wear a mask at this point in the pandemic.
Right. But if someone is opting to wear a mask, just let them wear their mask. It's like, we just let them wear their mask. They're clearly trying to protect themselves, maybe someone in their household. Maybe they do need to go home and take care of their 90-something-year-old parent. And you're going to come in somewhere and dictate what their health should or should not be? We already know you're wrong, Doc.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll take it from here. But here, to jump off Erica's point, yes, she edited herself. Yeah. To jump off Erica's point, I'm totally with you. Don't bully people into yes or no. And I have two quick examples. One, I was in Trader Joe's. By the way, it's not a nationwide thing to do that. It's not even a statewide thing to do that. It goes down from county to county, which is very confusing to everybody. Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Where I live, I don't have to wear a mask. If I go to Trader Joe's here, I have to wear a mask. I forgot to wear a mask one time. Some guy just assumed had a Trump flag on my car and jammed the whole box in my face. He's like, "Excuse me, sir, you could have a mask." And I was like, "I have one in my pocket, actually. I just totally forgot to wear it." And then he was like, "Oh." I didn't like that tactic that he used. I would have just put one on had I did not remember. Then I went to a Disney on Ice. This man was yelling at this 16-year-old about not wearing a mask because he knew he had to wear it in there, and I almost stepped in and said something. The way you ask people to, don't shame anybody for what their decision is. Just go about what your business is. That's where I wanted to go.
What do you think as a former, great point, what do you think about as a former teacher about kids being pressured almost to either wear, or should there not be such a loose call from the CDC?
I mean, look, kids are, I think, sadly and unfortunately, our kids have separated themselves from us more than we know. I think 15 and 16-year-olds understand that their parents, my generation, unfortunately, we didn't do anything about when people were shooting up their schools on a daily basis. We didn't do anything when there was an airborne pathogen, and we didn't do anything. We have not done anything for these children. And so I don't think that they look at Ron DeSantis as an authority figure. I don't think they look at, a lot of times, their parents as an authority figure, because respect has to be earned. And we did not do that in their eyes. And I understand that. I have kids that age, so I get it. And until we, as a unified front, as this generation of adults, 40, 50, late 30s, until we kind of get our act together and show a unified front to kind of usher this next generation in, they're going to figure it out for themselves, because we have no message for them. We have nothing. We just yell at them about everything, and we have no answers. And so why would they come to us for anything? And it's really disappointing, because I was looking forward to being the kind of adult that I looked up to, like my father. I'm sure I know your parents, just like kind of regal human beings that were flawed, but also like had some dignity to them. I feel like people are just arguing online,
right?
Like almost like our kids are.
Yeah,
it's a weird.
To that point, I think we are. We just point out the bad ones.
Coming up on DBL, are you setting yourself up to get hacked online? We've got a list of the worst passwords.
Pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back. Boy, do we have a relatable topic for you. Did you know that the average person has over 100 online accounts that require a password? Now, that's a lot of logins to remember, so it's totally understandable why most people would choose easy to remember passwords, but your go-to login might be easier to guess than you think. So take a look at the 5 most hacked passwords, okay? 3 are just simple number sequences, all right? Then we have QWERTY, the first 6 letters on the top row of the keyboard. And of course, the not at all secure password. You're shaking your head, Jeff.
I've had password as my password.
Oh my
For
gosh.
sure. Dude.
No, you didn't.
Listen, everybody out there has had password with an exclamation point
never had
as a
password
password.
as my
We have to
password.
change it like every 2 months.
I'm over it.
here. Me too. And so I'm just like password exclamation point.
Yes.
Say, yes.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore, Kelly, so don't think about getting in there. But yeah.
It is.
But I mean, it is too much. It's too much. And I mean, how easy is it to hack? Your kid's name, is that a password to anything? Yeah.
Listen,
Your marriage date? Yeah, absolutely.
I forget my passwords all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really annoying because then I'm like, screw it. I'm not going to go on Facebook then. Or I'm not going to go here then. I guess I'm not going to pay this.
Yeah. This morning I bailed on working out because I couldn't get my password to work on the treadmill. So I was like, what? Guess I can't work
It's like Drake's God's plan. That's what you do this morning. Yeah, it's a weird thing. 100 seemed like a lot, and I guess I don't know if anybody else does this. I kind of have the same password with different variations of it.
But then you
Is that
still
bad?
forget. No, but then you still forget, right?
I just feel like if somebody wants to get your stuff, they can. I'm like, I think a hacker would probably need 4 seconds.
Way to just wave the white flag. Like, if you want my stuff, just come and get it.
I'll tell you this, Erica. I watched my youngest just use an iPad, and he touches it the way like somebody that's grown up with it his whole life moves it. Like I still mash it because I'm used to pushing buttons like an old person. He touches it like a violinist would. And I just think like if somebody was trying to get it into from that generation, they could do it. They'd be like, oh, Jeff, here, blah, blah. It would be 2 seconds. I guarantee you. So just try and keep anything you don't want to be seen offline.
Well, that's why second method authentication or whatever is so important for a lot of these things, because you get an alert, somebody's trying to get into your whatever. At least there's some type of security system.
I love that, I'm sure all phones have it, but like the iPhone memorizes your password. I'm like, yes. Right?
I can't.
Oh, yeah, like on your computer at home or something? Yes.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
But if somebody steals your phone, then they have access to everything.
No. Then they have to get into my phone first.
They need to get the password to get in, but that's only one password for all the passwords.
Yeah.
You can't get into my phone because every 5 seconds it locks.
Yeah, I don't save passwords.
I was outside shoveling.
I don't. No.
You don't save passwords?
No, not the automatic
so you
thing.
Have to remember them all?
I'm gonna have to.
Wow.
Well, remember back in
I
the
gotta
day,
protect my stuff.
We all
Real
remembered
gangsta.
phone numbers.
That's-
What's happened to us? We've devolved. How many phone numbers did we all remember in 5th grade?
I know all of my friends' numbers still to this day
Same.
from elementary
But
school.
passwords in
Yeah.
and out. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Warning for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Teosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the Central Bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
We have a lot of comments. Okay, in regard to DeSantis, Denise says, while I agree with DeSantis on the masks, it is wrong to take it out on kids. Bad look. In regard to phone numbers, Donnie says, I agree with Sam. We used to remember so many numbers, and now I can barely remember my own. Aaron says, I know my wife's phone number. That's it. You don't know anyone's phone number.
I remember my homeboy Donnie from Cleveland. I still remember his landline.
What about current people?
No, nobody. Nobody, not even my
If you lost your cell phone, you wouldn't be able to contact anybody.
I got to call my boy Donnie.
Watch the second half of the show online. Watch on YouTube, dailyblastlive.com, or our DBL mobile app. Shout out to Donnie. But if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Did Kanye West go way too far? Why he's getting so much backlash for his new music video? And a grandma who knows what she wants in the dating world. You don't want to miss her hilarious list of red flags.
If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him, because I love bingo.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So, let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So, no, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane?
This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just
It's
stop.
finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. So Max Chermakovsky, I'm so sorry, I always get that wrong.
You've been nailing it. I've been really impressed. That was the first time you ever stumbled. Give yourself some props.
Look at you two.
Really, every time it comes up on the prompter, I'm like, I don't know how to say that. So, yeah.
Well, Max safely made it back to the U.S. after his escape from a war-torn Ukraine. Max had an emotional reunion with his wife, Peta, at LAX yesterday. The two held each other for a long time, and Max even went back in for another kiss and hug. He told ET's Kevin Frazier how much he appreciates peace now because of what he just experienced. Erica?
Yeah. There is a conversation that's happening about Max right now that I'm very uncomfortable with. And I'm just going to put this out here, and I know that I might get backlash for it. That's fine, but I'm being super honest. If something were to go down in this country, I am not going to be the very first to volunteer to be on the front lines. I'm just going to be honest about that. So I am not going to judge someone for making the decision to leave and reunite with their family. But there's a lot of judgment about Max right now on social media, and I question if the same people who are putting that responsibility and judgment on his shoulders would be the first people to volunteer and be on the front lines, because that I can respect. But I'm fairly certain that most of those people don't fit into that category, so therefore his individual choice should be respected. It's just a very uncomfortable conversation for me.
I mean, Eric, since you're being honest, I'll be honest too. I was one of those people that at first questioned this, and you know, because we look and we're saying anybody that can fight should fight. We've seen video of that older guy bringing that leather bag and those sandwiches,
like 80,
ready to get into it. And so when I saw a young, healthy man headed for the train station on a train packed with women and children, I felt some kind of way about that. I'm being completely honest. And then I did the work that you were just talking about. I was like, well, what would I do if I was looking at my 3 kids and saying, you know, you're probably never going to see me again? Do I want my children, especially when I have a special needs child, to grow by themselves? These are all decisions that I am able to make in an air-conditioned studio surrounded by my friends. I don't know what I would do. So I really questioned myself for questioning him. But I mean, the optics didn't look great. But then when you stop and think about it and go, right, if you scratch underneath the surface, you realize there's a human being with all these things underneath, Jeff.
And that's what makes you a hero, right? You can't just, oh, I'm going to be a hero today. That Vasily Lomachenko going back in when he's at the top of his boxing game to fight, it's a special person. That's a hero. But you shouldn't shame anybody, right? Unless you are that person going back in. There's a lot of tough guys on the internet, and all of them be like, oh yeah, I'm down to fight for my country. But when the rubber hits the road, like you said, where are you going to be? Even if a fight broke out in front of those people, where are you going to be? You're heading for the door. So don't tell me about leaving your family and going to fight for your country, because you don't have that in you.
You mentioned leaving your family.
Right.
He is a 5-year-old. Would it change for you, or do you think most people, if they did not have kids?
Listen, for me personally, and I would take it very personally, to fight for my country is something I would want to show my kids, that I'm willing to die for you and your freedom. Okay, that's me personally, and I'm not trying to be a tough guy. That's when I see those videos of that father kissing his son goodbye, that's a man to me. Vasily Lomachenko at the top of his game does not need to go do that, but does anyway. That's a man to me, okay?
Right.
And my father fought, well, all of our parents fought in the war. That's a man to me, right? So I would want to replicate that for my children. And again, it would be a tough decision, but that's something that I would have to really mull over, saying you guys are going to have to do the rest of your life without me.
Right. And that's why you have a government in place to kind of keep you from having to make these decisions. That's
being faced with the weight of that decision.
Before we get there.
Yeah. All right, so Kim Kardashian, no longer a married woman. A judge declared Kim is now legally single and no longer married to Kanye West. But details of their divorce, like custody and property, still need to be worked out. Well, meantime, a lot of you have an opinion on this. Kanye has released his video for his song Easy that depicts a not-so-subtle reference to Kim's boyfriend, Pete Davidson. A warning to our viewers, these images may seem disturbing. In the video, a claymation Kanye kidnaps Pete, puts him on the back of a motorbike, buries him up to his neck. Take a look.
I got love for the nannies, but real family is better. The cameras watch the kids, I stopped taking the credit. Not custodial dad, I bought the house next door. What you think the point of really being rich for?
In the final scene, Kanye cuts the roses from Pete's head and drives off in a pickup truck full of flowers. As you may remember, for Valentine's Day, Kanye sent a truckload of roses to Kim's house with, quote, "My vision is crystal clear," written on the side. All right, Erica, did Kanye go too far?
Yes. I mean, we're asking now as if the whole threshold hasn't been broke a long time ago. I just want to be clear to people, because people find this to be entertainment, and I don't find it to be entertainment. I don't find it to be funny. I don't find it to be romantic. I find it to be very toxic, and it's also giving people a very dangerous message, because just because Kanye's famous and he has power and money and all this stuff, you try this at home, someone will be knocking on your door, and rightfully so, because that is a terroristic threat. You are enticing other people to be on your side and possibly put innocent people in danger. And just be very clear, it's always so weird to me when a parent, two parents get divorced or they break up or whatever, and you try to put the other parent in danger. Like, that doesn't affect your children? Like, there is something seriously wrong here, and it's not entertaining at all.
A lot of psychologists have come forward saying this is post-separation abuse. That's what they call it. It's a form of domestic violence, and they're warning people to see this not as courtship or entertainment. No. This is abuse, and this is domestic violence, and this is serious. And also, I want to point out, too, that when Pete Davidson did go on Instagram a couple weeks ago, if you looked at his comments before he finally shut it off, you can see the what do you call it, like the picture of each user. The picture of each user was a black circle. Those are, Kanye's fan base. Literally every single comment was threatening him, telling him to get off. He ended up taking off his Instagram. According to Sean King, friend of the show, he posted that many of Kim's family members are now being threatened with rape and murder. So this is serious, and we're not even showing the worst of that video. In that video, you also see him hold up a decapitated head of Pete Davidson.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's something clinically wrong here, and I'm a Kanye fan, right? Absolutely. But when you have that many followers, there's got to be one insane person that's willing to do something for you because they want to be closer to you. It's very dangerous stuff. The internet's very dangerous. Kanye has millions and millions of followers. I didn't even know he had a Bayhive type deal. Yeah. What's going on with my lip over
there? Well, don't say it. It's not a Bayhive. No.
But listen, Beyonce has a responsibility as well, and I don't want to bring her into this. So does Taylor Swift. So does everybody with a large platform. Anybody. If you do this kind of behavior and someone's like, oh, I'm going to be able to get closer to this celebrity if I do them this favor, that's how delusional some people are out there.
That's the worst case.
Right.
What about the case of just, let's say he wasn't famous, the fear?
Right. I mean, no, please, Erica, please.
That is just it. That is what makes me so angry and super uncomfortable, because there are people who are watching right now, who are in relationships that they have been intimidated out of leaving for this very same reason, because the devil that you know is always better than the devil that you don't. So if you don't think that this entire situation is playing out in real time in households all over this country, someone is sitting in it because they're like, well, at least I know if this happens, then they'll do this and I can respond this way. But if I pack up and I leave, then they'll threaten my family. They will come to my job. They will hunt me. They will never never let me go. And this is what is happening. And we're calling it entertainment. People's lives are in jeopardy because of this. That's just the truth.
I completely agree, and I hope I'm not taking the wrong side here, but I do wonder what this would do to art when it comes to whether it's the red scarf with Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal. Am I saying that? Is that right? If you have this fan base, let's take Kanye out of this, and you talk about anybody, does that now make this off limits? If you're rappers that
no, this isn't. See, this is why I'm uncomfortable, because we're conflating art and stalking.
Right. Oh, I definitely.
This is
terroristic
threat. This isn't art.
I definitely think it's stalking.
This isn't art. It's not about the red. It's a scarf. It's not about, this person has a lot of followers, just like that person. No, these are two totally different things. Like, let's not even conflate the two. It is super dangerous. It's dangerous for people who are currently in the situation. It's dangerous for people who are coming up thinking that this is okay. I'm not going to stop saying it's dangerous. No conflating. No.
I mean, I definitely think it's dangerous. I just always worry about the precedent. It's always like when we pass a law about guns or something like that, everybody's like, oh, that's good. Erica, who's that law going to be used on? You know what I'm saying? So we know that the next step, they're going to come after somebody else. So I always worry about precedent. But I do, in this case, when he bought the house across the street, when we covered that a month ago, I was like, that's super weird when people thought that was funny. His behavior is strange and off-putting. But I'm just saying, in terms of the art and what you can say in a musical track in this type of genre, I just wonder where it's going to stop.
Yeah. Well, good conversations. Coming up on DBL, we're going to switch gears. Is cloning your pet a good idea? We're going to talk about that next.
Closed captioning provided by
Poshmark.
Do you mind being on camera?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're just, you can listen. Megan, our senior producer, is going to go ahead and educate us on
For
the
what's
next block.
next? Yes. So we're going to talk about cloning pets. There's two.
We need to get a speech
We need to get it, yeah, a little bit. So I want to give you some facts if you want to bring them up.
Yes.
So you're going to talk about two, a cat and a dog that were cloned.
Where?
And they, in the United States, in Texas.
Don't tell the name because Sam will.
And so
let's
you'll
get us
share
off on a
them, you'll see
tangent.
video of them and a side by side, okay? And you'll share some points about them, okay? Then the discussion is going to be like, would you ever do this? So here's some pointers that you can do. Barbara Streisand actually cloned her two dogs several years ago. So this is like a thing. This
Are
is
they
not
still
a new
alive?
thing.
Was there any sort of
Oh yeah, they're still alive. I read that the place only puts down animals that come out genetically not correct. It
So
costs
there's trial and
now-
error.
Kind of, yes. And they can come in litters, like dogs come in litters, so they had multiple dogs. So, but it costs $50,000 to do a dog, and it costs $35,000 to do a cat.
How far away are humans?
An animal
I
that
don't
looks
know.
just like the
I
last
don't
one.
wanna.
Where do they go?
No, I'm saying
Where
like
do
how
they
far
go?
are humans?
What do you mean?
Like, where do you go to get it?
If they wanted
There's
to.
a clinic. There's a
just
pet
no one
cloning clinic.
Where?
In Texas. One in Texas.
That's the only one.
No, there's another one. There's more. But the big one
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in Texas.
Thank
The
you,
woman
Megan.
with the cat.
Thank you.
So.
Freaky.
Yeah, but it's just
I get the temptation. I just wouldn't do it, but I
Yeah.
get the temptation.
And is it really the same dog?
Right.
That's
Do they have the same
genetically
personality?
exactly.
Right, but what about personality, soul?
Where do dogs even have those?
Of course they do. Yes, they do.
That's hilarious.
When they see, are you?
This is
How
gonna
come
be
when
a.
they? Why does when a
This is
dog
gonna be
comes
a-
and remembers it? Our Christian,
Me and
our
Erica-
senior EP just said, "Do dogs have memories?" Yes.
The dog doesn't know where it is.
Yes, they do.
Save it for the show.
How far would you go to keep your pet? Owners who couldn't bear to say goodbye to their four-legged friends are taking to social media to show off their cloned cats and dogs. Kelly Anderson, who is an Instagram pet influencer, cloned her cat Chai after Chai unexpectedly died in 2017. Kelly sent a sample of Chai's DNA to a Texas-based pet cloning company, paid $25,000, and 4 years later, Chai's identical genetic clone named Belle was born. And this woman cloned her wolf dog, Willow, who died in 2018. The cloning process gave life to her new dog, Phoenix, as well as 5 more. Wow, genetically identical copies in 2019.
So they sent this company 25 grand and they sent a white cat over there.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess we know how long it took to find an exact copy. Yeah. You got to hit every shelter in.
There's more differences than just like.
How would she know? It's their breeds. Like, they all look the same. That's why they're breeds. You can tell. You can just get one that looks just like it.
I knew every single hair, spot, eyelash, flaw on my old dog Baby that I had for 18 years. I would know in a heartbeat. Would you have gotten
Baby cloned? Because I know how close you guys.
I would have fantasized about it because that was my baby. Literally, when I lost her, I felt like I lost a child, and I still think about her and mourn her every single day. But no, I would not clone her. I don't.
Why not? Because I think you're a passionate. I would think this would be for somebody like you. I'm not even joking.
It's not ethical, in my opinion.
Why not?
Because there's a lot of trial and error involved. Not every single one of those dogs or cats make it. So then you're killing dogs and cats too. If they come out genetically not what they wanted with some sort of deformity, they have to put that dog or cat down. That's not right.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh, Erica's considering
in my mind, I'm like, we need Spike forever, but Spike is also like the end of a legacy, like a family legacy. So I look at him and I'm always like, you're okay, right? You're going to be with us forever. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, $50,000 isn't that bad. I mean, I'd rather spend it on Spike than like a Birkin.
I just think it's like the University of Georgia. They're the Bulldogs. They have a mascot. It's a bulldog, and they have passed away, as bulldogs do, and they get another one, and they say I think they call them UGA for UG, UGA 1, UGA 2. Maybe you should have Spike 2.
I call
Electric Boogaloo. Just have the second Spike.
My new dog, Scruffy, I end up calling Baby number 2 a lot. She acts just like Baby. I think Baby sent her. I really do. They have the same personality.
Baby totally sent her.
Maybe you should let her have her own personality, her own life.
We are really underestimating the power of pets.
Thank you. Did you hear what he just said?
I don't care.
Attention, diet.
The pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
It's Thursday, so you know what that means. Steph showed Tori some great deals from our friends at Morning Save. Check it out. Steph, what do you have
for us today?
Hi, Tori, and hey, DBL Nation. I have got some wonderful products and even better deals just for you, and I cannot wait to share them. So, first up, we've got Vanity Planet Work It Digital Scale and Body Analyzer.
Ooh.
So, this deal includes one scale body analyzer. So, this goes way beyond the standard scale by measuring weight, body fat percentage, muscle mass, bone density, and water weight. And you can even keep 8 different user profiles on this one scale.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
So normally it's $145. We've got it for only $39, saving you guys 73%.
You guys are going to weigh less with all those savings.
I love it. And Tori, we are both lovers of self-care, so listen up for this one. We've got Danielle Creation's 6-piece facial cleansing system. This deal includes 2 soft bristle brushes, 1 silicone brush, 1 buffing sponge, 1 automatic facial cleansing wand, and 1 travel case. And it comes in either pink or teal. And the water-resistant facial cleansing wand has 2 speed modes for a custom clean. The brushes will remove impurities on the surface of the skin and deep into the pores. The buffing sponge polishes for a radiant glow, and this system is suitable for all skin types.
This is like the new thing. Everybody's got to get this.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So normally, this is as much as $40, but we've got it, Tori, for only $19. That's a saving of 53%.
That's for all of that for $19 under 20. Okay.
And when you think how much a facial is, I mean, it's really not comparable. This is fantastic. Now, Tori, we've got the Fat Freezer Platinum Slimming Belt.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
So this deal includes 1 slimming belt, look, like this. And I mean, nothing feels cooler than a healthy boost of confidence. So you can chill out, literally, with this non-invasive fat freezing device. So it safely delivers precise control cooling technology to gently and effectively freeze fatty areas.
Wow.
Optimum results are usually seen in as little as 4 weeks, and you can use this on other areas like your waist, your back, thighs, not only your stomach. So normally these are $150, but we've got it for $79, saving up to 47%.
I mean, can you imagine watching and binging your favorite show with this on your stomach, being like, I'm working out, kind of.
And last but certainly not least, we've got Adrienne Vitadini chain and lock detail crossbody.
Oh.
So this deal includes 1 crossbody, and we've got it available in 4 colors. We've got blush, ivory, black, and taupe. And this bag is the perfect everyday organizer. You can throw it over your shoulder as a crossbody, or you can use it as an oversized clutch.
Cute.
And I love the back zippered pocket.
Oh, nice.
Because it's perfect for your phone or keys. And the strap is adjustable and removable.
Oh, wow.
So normally, this bag is as much as $178, but this price is $29, saving everyone 84%.
Guys, get that and put the savings back in your new bag. That is fantastic. Head on over, everyone, to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. You can even visit morningsave.com right on your smartphone while you're slimming yourself with the belts. Thank you so much, Steph. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Warning for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Teosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the Central Bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
Welcome back. A grandma is going viral on TikTok for spelling out her 4 red flags when it comes to dating. Watch.
This is my red flag list. If he doesn't hold the door for me, it's not that hard. If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him because I love bingo. If he doesn't keep enough of soup for me in the refrigerator, I always like soup and need soup. If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Okay. I love it. She knows exactly what she wants.
Absolutely. I mean, she didn't have to read any relationship books. She's like, if you're not into what I'm into, I have no beef with you, but I need somebody to go to bingo with. I think it's a good way to live your life.
I like it.
I can't believe she's so savvy on TikTok. I can't even do TikTok. Look at her.
I wouldn't admit that, but yeah. you just go to the app and push the button and it takes care of itself.
Okay. All right. Before we go, you guys, Erica, you have some really great news to share about an upcoming project. Tell us.
Ooh. Yes. As you guys know, I have a podcast called Comeback with Erica Cobb, and I am officially on the Ebony Podcast Network covering Black America. I am so excited. This is a major comeback for me to Ebony. Ebony was the first publication that ever printed me as a commercial print model. Wow. Ebony was the first publication to ever amplify my voice on this show. And I am so excited to be a part of the inaugural group of the Ebony Podcast Network. You can go to ebonypodcastnetwork.com. Of course, follow all of Ebony's platforms. And come to me, come back, because Comeback is here. Thank you to everyone who has supported me. Yay! Thank you. Great job.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So, no, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
What we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Heartbreaking images out of Ukraine as a soldier calls his mom to tell her he's okay, while another soldier walks through the streets with grenades. When will this war end? Florida's governor scolds students for wearing masks. Was this bullying? Kanye West takes another shot at Pete Davidson in a shocking new music video. Did he take it too far? And a grandma's dating red flags list goes viral.
If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No.
Just stop. Finally here, drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Lots to talk about today. It has been more than a week now since the war in Ukraine started. And one thing that's very different in this war, all the viral videos that show what it's like up close, like this dash cam video that captures a missile strike with clouds of black smoke. The driver turns his car around. Another video shows a Russian soldier, I know you must have seen this, it's been everywhere, carrying what looks to be grenades through a crowd of Ukrainians. Some say he was threatening to kill them if they didn't surrender. Others say he did it to prevent being taken hostage. There's also this video of an emotional Russian soldier drinking tea and eating food offered by Ukrainians. He also cries while talking to his mother on a video chat. Meantime, a number of mega yacht owners by rich and powerful Russian oligarchs have been seized by France and Germany. Again, totally different war, right? We talked about this earlier. What do you make of all this, Erica? And also all these viral videos?
Yeah, I think it's important that we are seeing these things in real time. I mean, anyone who watches any of this, I mean, you think about how difficult life is just in general. And you have your livelihood and your routine and all of that to just be taken away and what that looks like. You know, that is not just someone random person, like that's someone who could actually be you. And I talked about this yesterday in terms of the empathy, not only in this situation, but all of the nations, countries, communities that are under fire, under attack, under oppression. You know, this is a very real moment that people are feeling compelled to stop down and think about, at least think about what life would be like and maybe have some empathy that way.
Yeah, I think it humanizes people, to jump off of what Erica said. You see these videos of that Russian soldier being taken care of by Ukrainian people, right? When you think of the wars of the past, you think of communist countries being taught, having propaganda to hate one country or another because of whatever reason. with social media now, you're seeing the humanization of what this soldier's going through. Him talking to his mom, but you were there to kill these people, and now these people are taking care of you. What a, I don't know, very symbolic, that moment. Also, the soldier saying goodbye to his family. I mean, you see these moments, and then when you think about we're in 2022, how could these moments happen? Why do you want to go kill somebody for no reason? Because they're a different race, color, sexuality, country, etc. It just really, I can't wrap my head around it. And I think that's why
Jeff,
people are confused.
we're seeing that they don't.
Yeah.
Right. You know, they don't. And I think that's because we have put a human face on it. I think when you
What do you think about the new tactics, though? Because I'm curious to hear your point of view of that. You're very cerebral, right?
I try
and
to be.
You are. This is a very cerebral way of fighting a war. They're going after oligarchs' yachts, things like that. Those are his buddies. Do you think those type of tactics are enough?
Well, we're going to find out, Sam. That's what we're going to find out if this can overcome just general propaganda that's been used to kind of start and propagate every war. Now we're going to see if videos like that young man talking to his mother, if videos like bombs going off near hospitals and maternity wards not only turn public sentiment in Russia, in Ukraine, but all over the world, in his cabinet. Because I think we're seeing now the humanity on both sides, because we see the humanity with that young man, but we also see that the oligarchs don't really spark up until you start talking about taking their yachts away.
Right.
When you're talking about 10,000, 100,000 people dying, they don't care. Hey, it's from Mother Russia. But when you start touching those super yachts, now it's like, hey, what are we doing here? So it kind of shows you where your leaders' priorities are. So not what they say, but how they react to when something's threatened with them.
Well said. Speaking, you talked about their leader. Let's talk a minute about the man responsible for this war, Russian President Vladimir Putin. There are a number of people from certain right-wing news outlets who are suggesting that the answer to stopping Putin is to assassinate him. They're asking, why not just take him out? They say it would put an end to all the death and horrible atrocities taking place across Ukraine. So the question is, and we've talked about this, but let's continue the conversation. Are we doing enough to stop Putin? And are they right that taking him out is a good way to end the war? What do you think, Jeff?
First of all, I think people, I don't know if we need to say what political party they're from. I think everybody's asking the question, why don't we just take Putin out? It's as easy as that. It's not as easy as that, right? There's generals in place. They know what's going on. There's repercussions. It's actually legal for war to just assassinate somebody. Illegal, I'm sorry. So we can't even do that legally, right? So we can't do that. But the point I wanted to make, which I totally forgot right now, and I wanted to get, I had a good point, and I totally forgot, I swear.
I'll just mention, while you're thinking about it, just because you mentioned how it is illegal, I just want people to know that an executive order from 1976 made it illegal for the U.S. to carry out political assassinations. Now, there is an alleged there is an alleged, I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe we can get confirmation that there's $1 million hit on Putin with Russian individuals. So that takes us out of it. But then again, you also don't want to push someone to start a nuclear war.
You also don't want to tweet about it if you are going to assassinate somebody.
Right.
That would just be my thought.
Quickly, my thing was, if we do send soldiers over there and something happened to them and they ended up on YouTube being decapitated or whatever, or they died, how would that look to the American government, right? And you're kind of pushing a button when you go to assassinate somebody. So that's where the point I was making that I said so eloquently.
What do you think, Erica?
I'm just listening because I honestly, this conversation makes me so uncomfortable. So I'm listening to understand like what your perspectives are, because I don't have a perspective on it. I feel very strongly about talking about anything on someone's life. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be in, and I think that we're not.
I have to just push back on that. Not to say that I feel a certain way, and I'm just really quickly, I got a confirmation from our producer that it's a Russian businessman that put a bounty on Putin. The fact that there are documented assassinations, torturing, poisoning of innocent people in Russia, and that Ukraine has already lost civilian lives, and that they could lose all of Ukraine if Putin had his way. For a lot of people, as callous as it sounds to talk about someone's life, I'm with you, Erica, and a bounty and assassinations, a lot of people feel like, well, what about all these people that he's already killed and that he's about to kill? So I think, I think it's an okay conversation to have.
I'm not saying that it's not an okay conversation to have. I'm just saying that my discomfort, I'm very uncomfortable talking about it simply because, I mean, look at, like, let's just take it super fundamentally down to, let's say it was a neighborhood and you had someone who was running this neighborhood and no one else would ever try to take away their power because that person is just that powerful. Well, you can take that dude out, but there's going to be a dude right below him who now has to prove that he's bigger and badder than that other dude. So it's like, you know, it's like, it seems like the answer, but the truth is whoever comes up behind him is going to flex their muscle even more because guess what? Putin wasn't really the man. I'm the man. So that's what I'm thinking about anytime we have these conversations. So it is uncomfortable for a lot of reasons because I don't think that we as a nation are that far behind. We're already divided as it is, and this is a problem. So when we continue to have these conversations like this always affects somebody else, okay, cool. But when it's in our backyard where it's creeping up anyway, now we have to get real about what's happening here. Humanity is a great conversation if we're all willing to admit that we have it.
I was listening to you talk, and that's really, as you were talking, I started thinking about our failed war on terror. And it's almost the same thing when you're trying to fight against an ideology, not a person. We were like, oh, we're going to take bin Laden out. It's going to be great after that. It's not. It's the way people feel. You have to remove that from people in order to move forward. Killing a figurehead will only make them a martyr and make their message stronger. Because that almost solidifies like, oh, they had to kill this person because what they were saying is right. So I understand the initial sentiment to just remove that issue, but the issue is that they're saying something that's resonating with a lot of people and has for a long time. And until we fight against the idea of what those people support and what Putin stands for, we're going to be right back here again with the stronger guy, with the younger guy, or woman, anybody that's willing to do more than Putin was. So, I mean, it
sounds like disinformation is the key. I mean, you talked about propaganda, you talked about brainwashing. That's exactly what you said. We don't know what that narrative has been like for the Russian people. When you brought up that viral video of the Russian soldier, he was saying, oh my gosh, I've been duped in Russian. And then it was translated in so many words that he has been duped because for so long they've been watching Russian state TV and told this is what we need to do, this is our country. So I think we need to remember that the disinformation that we talk about all the time on social media or whatever, wherever it may be, look what happened with, the insurrection. So that's what I think we need to be in control of globally, because then you're not going to get minions to follow their leader if they know what's really up. Well, that was a good conversation.
Great call.
All right, coming up on DBL, a new music video from Kanye West is being called disturbing. And did he go too far? Many of you guys are wondering if his jabs at Pete Davidson is, crossing the line. Plus, the most commonly hacked passwords. Find out if you're setting yourself up as a target online. Plus, Florida's governor scolds a group of students for wearing masks. Was this bullying?
Closed captioning provided by
This March, connect with Al, Tori, Erica, Jeff, and Sam. Oh my gosh, the real conversations are on DBL.
Man, you guys want all the smoke with these hard questions.
DBL, all new, every day.
We're on.
I wanted to hear more from you, Jeff. What are you thinking?
I kind of said what I was thinking. I don't think are we going to stay on that? I don't think assassinating Putin is the answer, right? Okay. Legally, you can't do it. And what
about from Russia's standpoint, not from our standpoint? Because there's some Russian businessmen that are trying to handle things their own way.
We as a country can't be involved in the world's problems all the time. I understand we want to go there. I understand we want to stop this man, but it's not the United States' job to be involved. If they get in one of our allied countries, which is NATO, which is on the eastern border of Ukraine, if they get into there, we're going to step in. Until they do that, I don't think it's our job to necessarily step in. But I think a lot of people watch movies, they see these things, they play video games, and they think this is how real life plays out. And that's not how it does play out. Sadly, there's going to be casualties. This is war. It's been happening since the world began, and you have to let it play out before we step in.
And just how casual people are thrown around, like the idea of assassinating.
Yeah, it's like
there's a saying: if you come for the king, you better not miss. And there's a reason for that. It was also the title of one of my favorite episodes of The Wire. but it's like when they try to kill Omar. And it's like when they miss.
Every time I hear that show, I think about
yes, when he jumped out of that window and lived, it's like, well, now the neighborhood's going to be on fire because you just tried to kill the man. And it's the same thing,
But
same
what if
analogy
you
Eric was
educated
making.
that neighborhood? What if you educate Russia? And I don't mean educate.
Yeah, I know
in the way
what you're saying. Tell
I
them
mean
about what's going on.
Because of the, to
Whose job
prevent
is
the
that?
disinformation.
Whose job is that?
I think TikTok
I
is doing
think
it.
I think it's our. Everyone's going to say this is a slippery slope and it's an infringement on rights. I really do think we need to have stronger regulation when it comes to disinformation globally, because we're all connected now.
But then
you
who
can't
decides
just.
But if
what's
you have
disinformation?
then what? You're going to go into North Korea and tell them what to do? I mean, it's like you can't monitor the whole.
Welcome back. As more and more states are dropping mask mandates in schools, some administrators are concerned that students who choose to wear masks could become targets for bullies. Given how politicized masks have become, some folks can't help but call out people who wear masks. Speaking of which, check out what happened at the start of a press conference for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We got to stop it. The governor just got in. So if you want to wear it, it's fine, but this is ridiculous.
Wow. All right. So does making masks a choice? Okay, Erica, you have an expression on your face. I'm just go.
That's a meme.
It's just, I mean,
yeah.
seriously. That's
What's bothering you?
It's just the arrogance. It's like if someone wants to wear a mask
or not wear a mask at this point in the pandemic.
Right. But if someone is opting to wear a mask, just let them wear their mask. It's like we just let them wear their mask. They're clearly trying to protect themselves, maybe someone in their household. Maybe they do need to go home and take care of their 90-something-year-old parent. And you're going to come in somewhere and dictate what their health should or should not be? We already know you're wrong, Doc.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll take it from here. But here, to jump off Erica's point, yes, she edited herself. Yeah. To jump off Erica's point, I'm totally with you. Don't bully people into yes or no. And I have two quick examples. One, I was in Trader Joe's. By the way, it's not a nationwide thing to do that. It's not even a statewide thing to do that. It goes down from county to county, which is very confusing to everybody. Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Where I live, I don't have to wear a mask. If I go to Trader Joe's here, I have to wear a mask. I forgot to wear a mask one time. Some guy just assumed I had a Trump flag on my car and jammed the whole box in my face. He's like, "Excuse me, sir, you could have a mask." And I was like, "I have one in my pocket, actually. I just totally forgot to wear it." And then he was like, "Oh." I didn't like that tactic that he used. I would have just put one on had I did not remember. Then I went to a Disney on Ice. This man was yelling at this 16-year-old about not wearing a mask because he knew he had to wear it in there, and I almost stepped in and said something. The way you ask people to, don't shame anybody for what their decision is. Just go about what your business is. That's where I wanted to go.
What do you think as a former, great point. What do you think about as a former teacher about kids being pressured almost to either wear, or should there not be such a loose call from the CDC?
I mean, look, kids are, I think, sadly and unfortunately, our kids have separated themselves from us more than we know. I think 15 and 16-year-olds understand that their parents, my generation, unfortunately, we didn't do anything about when people were shooting up their schools on a daily basis. We didn't do anything when there was an airborne pathogen, and we didn't do anything. We have not done anything for these children. And so I don't think that they look at Ron DeSantis as an authority figure. I don't think they look at, a lot of times, their parents as an authority figure, because respect has to be earned. And we did not do that in their eyes. And I understand that. I have kids that age, so I get it. And until we, as a unified front, as this generation of adults, 40, 50, late 30s, until we kind of get our act together and show a unified front to kind of usher this next generation in, they're going to figure it out for themselves, because we have no message for them. We have nothing. We just yell at them about everything, and we have no answers. And so why would they come to us for anything? And it's really disappointing, because I was looking forward to being the kind of adult that I looked up to, like my father. I'm sure I know your parents, just like kind of regal human beings that were flawed, but also like had some dignity to them. I feel like people are just arguing online,
right?
Like almost like our kids are.
Yeah,
It's a weird.
To that point, I think we are. We just point out the bad ones.
Coming up on DBL, are you setting yourself up to get hacked online? We've got a list of the worst passwords.
The pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back. Boy, do we have a relatable topic for you. Did you know that the average person has over 100 online accounts that require a password? Now, that's a lot of logins to remember, so it's totally understandable why most people would choose easy to remember passwords, but your go-to login might be easier to guess than you think. So take a look at the 5 most hacked passwords, okay? 3 are just simple number sequences, all right? Then we have QWERTY, the first 6 letters on the top row of the keyboard. And of course, the not at all secure password. You're shaking your head, Jeff.
I've had password as my password.
Oh my
For
gosh.
sure.
No, you didn't.
Listen, everybody out there has had password with an exclamation point
never had
as a
password
password.
as my
We have to
password.
change it like every 2 months.
I'm over
here. Me too. And so I'm just like password exclamation point.
Yes.
Say, yes.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore, Kelly, so don't think about getting in there. But yeah.
It is.
But I mean, it is too much. It's too much. And I mean, how easy is it to hack? Your kid's name, is that a password to anything? Yeah.
Listen,
your marriage date? Yeah, absolutely.
I forget my passwords all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really annoying because then I'm like, screw it. I'm not going to go on Facebook then. Or I'm not going to go here then. I guess I'm not going to pay this.
Yeah. This morning I bailed on working out because I couldn't get my password to work on the treadmill. So I was like, well, guess I can't work.
It's like Drake, it's God's plan. That's what you do this morning. Yeah, it's a weird thing. 100 seemed like a lot, and I guess, I don't know if anybody else does this, I kind of have the same password with different variations of it.
But then you
Is that
still
bad?
forget. No, but then you still forget, right?
I just feel like if somebody wants to get your stuff, they can. I'm like, I think a hacker would probably need 4 seconds.
Way to just wave the white flag. Like, if you want my stuff, just come and get it.
I'll tell you this, Erica. I watched my youngest just use an iPad, and he touches it the way like somebody that's grown up with it his whole life moves it. Like I still mash it because I'm used to pushing buttons like an old person. He touches it like a violinist would. And I just think like if somebody was trying to get it into from that generation, they could do it. They'd be like, oh, Jeff here, blah, blah. It would be 2 seconds. I guarantee you. So just try and keep anything you don't want to be seen offline.
Well, that's why second method authentication or whatever is so important for a lot of these things, because you get an alert, somebody's trying to get into your whatever. At least there's some type of security system.
I love that, you know, I'm sure all phones have it, but like the iPhone memorizes your password. I'm like, yes. Right?
I can't.
Oh, yeah, like on your computer at home or something, yes.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
But if somebody steals your phone, then they have access to everything.
No. Then they have to get into my phone first.
They need to get the password to get in, but that's only one password for all the passwords.
You can't get into, but you can't get into my phone because every 5 seconds it locks.
Yeah, I don't save passwords.
I was outside shoveling.
I don't. No.
You don't save passwords?
No, not the automatic
you have
thing.
To remember them all?
I'm gonna have to.
Wow.
Well, remember back in
I
the
gotta
day,
protect my stuff.
We all
Real
remembered
gangsta.
phone numbers.
Yes.
What's happened to us? We've like devolved. How many phone numbers did we all remember like in 5th grade?
I know all of my friends' numbers still to this day from like elementary
But
school.
passwords in and out. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Warning for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Tarosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the central bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
Do we have a lot of comments? Okay, in regard to DeSantis, Denise says, while I agree with DeSantis on the masks, it is wrong to take it out on kids. Bad look. In regard to phone numbers, Donnie says, I agree with Sam. We used to remember so many numbers, and now I can barely remember my own. Aaron says, I know my wife's phone number. That's it. You don't know anyone's phone number.
I remember my homeboy Donnie from Cleveland. I still remember his landline.
What about current people?
No, nobody. Nobody, not even my
If you lost your cell phone, you wouldn't be able to contact anybody.
I got to call my boy Donnie.
Watch the second half of the show online. Watch on YouTube, dailyblastlive.com, or our DBL mobile app. Shout out to Donnie. But if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Did Kanye West go way too far? Why he's getting so much backlash for his new music video? And a grandma who knows what she wants in the dating world. You don't want to miss her hilarious list of red flags.
If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him, because I love bingo.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So, let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So, no, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No.
No.
Y'all, just
It's
stop.
finally here. Drum roll. Welcome to DBL. So Max Chermakovsky. I'm so sorry, I always get that wrong.
You've been nailing it. I've been really impressed. That was the first time you ever stumbled. Give yourself some props.
Look at you two.
Really, every time it comes up on the prompter, I'm like, I don't know how to say that. So, yeah.
Well, Max safely made it back to the U.S. after his escape from a war-torn Ukraine. Max had an emotional reunion with his wife, Peta, at LAX yesterday. The two held each other for a long time, and Max even went back in for another kiss and hug. He told ET's Kevin Frazier how much he appreciates peace now because of what he just experienced. Erica?
You know, there is a conversation that's happening about Max right now that I'm very uncomfortable with. And I'm just going to put this out here, and I know that I might get backlash for it. That's fine, but I'm being super honest. If something were to go down in this country, I am not going to be the very first to volunteer to be on the front lines. I'm just going to be honest about that. So I am not going to judge someone for making the decision to leave and reunite with their family. But there's a lot of judgment about Max right now on social media, and I question if the same people who are putting that responsibility and judgment on his shoulders would be the first people to volunteer and be on the front lines, because that I can respect. But I'm fairly certain that most of those people don't fit into that category, so therefore his individual choice should be respected. It's just a very uncomfortable conversation for me.
I mean, Eric, since you're being honest, I'll be honest too. I was one of those people that at first question this. And, you know, because we look and we're saying anybody that can fight should fight. We've seen video of that older guy bringing that leather bag and those sandwiches,
like 80,
ready to get into it. And so when I saw a young, healthy man headed for the train station on a train packed with women and children, I felt some kind of way about that. I'm being completely honest. And then I did the work that you were just talking about. I was like, well, what would I do if I was looking at my 3 kids and saying, you know, you're probably never going to see me again? Do I want my children, especially when I have a special needs child, to grow by themselves? These are all decisions that I am able to make in an air-conditioned studio surrounded by my friends. I don't know what I would do. So I really questioned myself for questioning him. But I mean, the optics didn't look great. But then when you stop and think about it and go, right, if you scratch underneath the surface, you realize there's a human being with all these things underneath, Jeff.
And that's what makes you a hero, right? You can't just, oh, I'm going to be a hero today. That Vasily Lomachenko going back in when he's at the top of his boxing game to fight, it's a special person. That's a hero. But you shouldn't shame anybody, right? Unless you are that person going back in. There's a lot of tough guys on the internet, and all of them be like, oh, yeah, I'm down to fight for my country. But when the rubber hits the road, like you said, where are you going to be? Even if a fight broke out in front of those people, where are you going to be? You're heading for the door. So don't tell me about leaving your family and going to fight for your country, because you don't have that in you.
You mentioned leaving your family.
Right.
He is a 5-year-old. Would it change for you, or do you think most people, if they did not have kids?
Listen, for me personally, and I would take it very personally, to fight for my country is something I would want to show my kids, that I'm willing to die for you and your freedom. Okay, that's me personally, and I'm not trying to be a tough guy. That's when I see those videos of that father kissing his son goodbye, that's a man to me. Vasily Lomachenko at the top of his game does not need to go do that, but does anyway. That's a man to me, okay? Right. And my father fought, well, all of our parents fought in the war. That's a man to me, right? So I would want to replicate that for my children. And again, it would be a tough decision, but that's something that I would have to really mull over, saying you guys are going to have to do the rest of your life without me.
Right. And that's why you have a government in place to kind of keep you from having to make these decisions. That's
being faced with the weight of that decision.
We get there.
Yeah. All right, so Kim Kardashian, no longer a married woman. A judge declared Kim is now legally single and no longer married to Kanye West. But details of their divorce, like custody and property, still need to be worked out. Well, meantime, a lot of you have an opinion on this. Kanye has released his video for his song Easy that depicts a not-so-subtle reference to Kim's boyfriend, Pete Davidson. A warning to our viewers, these images may seem disturbing. In the video, a claymation Kanye kidnaps Pete, puts him on the back of a motorbike, buries him up to his neck. Take a look.
I got love for the nannies, but real family is better. The cameras watch the kids, I stopped taking the credit. Not custodial dad, I bought the house next door. What you think the point of really being rich for?
In the final scene, Kanye cuts the roses from Pete's head and drives off in a pickup truck full of flowers. As you may remember, for Valentine's Day, Kanye sent a truckload of roses to Kim's house with, quote, "My vision is crystal clear," written on the side. All right, Erica, did Kanye go too far?
Yes. I mean, we're asking now as if the whole threshold hasn't been broke a long time ago. I just want to be clear to people, because people find this to be entertainment, and I don't find it to be entertainment. I don't find it to be funny. I don't find it to be romantic. I find it to be very toxic, and it's also giving people a very dangerous message, because just because Kanye's famous and he has power and money and all this stuff, you try this at home, someone will be knocking on your door, and rightfully so, because that is a terroristic threat. You are enticing other people to be on your side and possibly put innocent people in danger. And just be very clear, it's always so weird to me when a parent, two parents get divorced or they break up or whatever, and you try to put the other parent in danger, like that doesn't affect your children. Like, there is something seriously wrong here, and it's not entertaining at all.
A lot of psychologists have come forward saying this is post-separation abuse. That's what they call it. It's a form of domestic violence, and they're warning people to see this not as courtship or entertainment. No. This is abuse, and this is domestic violence, and this is serious. And also, I want to point out, too, that when Pete Davidson did go on Instagram a couple weeks ago, if you looked at his comments before he finally shut it off, you can see the what do you call it, like the picture of each user. The picture of each user was a black circle. Those are, Kanye's fan base. Literally every single comment was threatening him, telling him to get off. He ended up taking off his Instagram. According to Sean King, friend of the show, he posted that many of Kim's family members are now being threatened with rape and murder. So this is serious, and we're not even showing the worst of that video. In that video, you also see him hold up a decapitated head of Pete Davidson.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's something clinically wrong here, and I'm a Kanye fan, right?
Absolutely.
But when you have that many followers, there's got to be one insane person that's willing to do something for you because they want to be closer to you. It's very dangerous stuff. The internet's very dangerous. Kanye has millions and millions of followers. I didn't even know he had a Bayhive type deal. Yeah. What's going on with my lip over
But don't say it. It's not a Bayhive.
Not the Bayhive.
No.
But listen, Beyonce has a responsibility as well, and I don't want to bring her into this. So does Taylor Swift. So does everybody with a large platform. Anybody. If you do this kind of behavior and someone's like, oh, I'm going to be able to get closer to this celebrity if I do them this favor, that's how delusional some people are out there.
That's the worst case.
Right.
What about the case of just, let's say he wasn't famous? The fear.
Right. I mean, no, please, Erica, please.
That is just it. That is what makes me so angry and super uncomfortable, because there are people who are watching right now, who are in relationships that they have been intimidated out of leaving for this very same reason, because the devil that you know is always better than the devil that you don't. So if you don't think that this entire situation is playing out in real time in households all over this country, someone is sitting in it because they're like, well, at least I know if this happens, then they'll do this and I can respond this way. But if I pack up and I leave, then they'll threaten my family. They will come to my job. They will hunt me. They will never let me go. And this is what is happening, and we're calling it entertainment. People's lives are in jeopardy because of this. That's just the truth.
I completely agree, and I hope I'm not taking the wrong side here, but I do wonder what this would do to art when it comes to whether it's the red scarf with Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal. Am I saying that? Is that right? If you have this fan base, let's take Kanye out of this, and you talk about anybody, does that now make this off limits? If you're rappers that
no, this isn't. See, this is why I'm uncomfortable, because we're conflating art and stalking.
Right. Oh, I definitely.
This is terroristic threat. This isn't art.
I definitely think it's
This isn't art. It's not about the red. It's a scarf. It's not about, this person has a lot of followers, just like that person. No, these are two totally different things. Let's not even conflate the two. It is super dangerous. It's dangerous for people who are currently in the situation. It's dangerous for people who are coming up thinking that this is okay. I'm not going to stop saying it's dangerous. No conflating. No.
I mean, I definitely think it's dangerous. I just always worry about the precedent. It's always like when we pass a law about guns or something like that, everybody's like, oh, that's good. Erica, who's that law going to be used on? You know what I'm saying? So we know that the next step, they're going to come after somebody else. So I always worry about precedent. But I do, in this case, when he bought the house across the street, when we covered that a month ago, I was like, that's super weird when people thought that was funny. That's his behavior is strange and off-putting. But I'm just saying, in terms of the art and what you can say in a musical track in this type of genre, I just wonder where it's going to stop.
Yeah. Well, good conversations. Coming up on DBL, we're going to switch gears. Is cloning your pet a good idea? We're going to talk about that next.
Closed captioning provided by Posh.
Mind being on camera?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're just, you can listen. Megan, our senior producer, is going to go ahead and educate us on
For
the
what's
next
next,
block.
yes. So we're going to talk about cloning pets. There's two.
We need to get a speech
We need to get it, yeah, a little bit. Because I want to give you some facts if you want to bring them up.
Yes.
So you're going to talk about two, a cat and a dog that were cloned.
Where?
And they, in the United States, in Texas.
Don't tell the name because Sam will.
No,
And so
let's
you'll
get us
share
off on a
them, you'll see
tangent.
video of them in a side by side, okay? And you'll share some points about them, okay? Then the discussion is going to be like, would you ever do this? So here's some pointers that you can do. Barbara Streisand actually cloned her two dogs several years ago. So this is like a thing. This
Are
is
they
not
still
a new
alive?
thing.
Was there any sort of
Oh yeah, they're still alive. I read that the place only puts down animals that come out genetically not correct. It
So there's
costs
trial and
now-
error.
Kind of, yes. And they can come in litters, like dogs come in litters, so they had multiple dogs. So, but it costs $50,000 to do a dog, and it costs $35,000 to do a cat.
How far away are humans?
An animal
I
that
don't
looks
know.
just like the
Don't. I
last
don't
one.
wanna.
Where do they go?
No, I'm saying
Where
like
do
how
they
far
go?
off are humans?
What do you mean?
Like, where do you go to get it?
If they wanted
There's
to.
a clinic. There's a
just
pet
no one
cloning clinic in
Where?
Texas. One in Texas.
That's the only one?
No, there's another one. There's more. But the big one is in Texas.
Thank
The
you.
woman with the cat.
Thank you.
So.
Freaky.
Yeah, but it's just freaky.
I get the temptation. I just wouldn't do it, but I get the temptation.
And is it really the same dog?
Right.
That's
Do they have the same personality? Right, but what about personality, soul?
Do dogs even have?
Of course they do. Yes, they do.
That's hilarious.
When they see, are you?
This is
How
gonna
come
be
when
a.
they? Why does when a dog comes and remembers it? Our Christian,
Me and
our
Erica-
senior EP just said, "Do dogs have memories?" Yes.
The dog doesn't know where it is.
Yes, they do.
Save it for the show.
How far would you go to keep your pet? Owners who couldn't bear to say goodbye to their four-legged friends are taking to social media to show off their cloned cats and dogs. Kelly Anderson, who is an Instagram pet influencer, cloned her cat Chai, after Chai unexpectedly died in 2017. Kelly sent a sample of Chai's DNA to a Texas-based pet cloning company, paid $25,000, and 4 years later, Chai's identical genetic clone named Belle was born. And this woman cloned her wolf dog, Willow, who died in 2018. The cloning process gave life to her new dog, Phoenix, as well as 5 more. Wow, genetically identical copies in 2019.
So they sent this company 25 grand and they sent a white cat over there.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess we know how long it took to find an exact copy. Yeah. You got to hit every shelter in.
There's more differences than just like.
How would she know? It's their breeds. Like, they all look the same. That's why they're breeds. You can tell. You can just get one that looks just like it.
I knew every single hair, spot, eyelash, flaw on my old dog Baby that I had for 18 years. I would know in a heartbeat.
Would you have gotten Baby cloned? Because I know how close you guys.
I would have fantasized about it because that was my baby. Literally, when I lost her, I felt like I lost a child, and I still think about her and mourn her every single day. But no, I would not clone her. I don't.
Why not? Because I think you're a passionate. I would think this would be for somebody like you. I'm not even joking.
It's not ethical, in my opinion.
Why not?
Because there's a lot of trial and error involved. Not every single one of those dogs or cats make it. So then you're killing dogs and cats too. If they come out genetically not what they wanted with some sort of deformity, they have to put that dog or cat down. That's not right.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh, Erica's considering
in my mind, I'm like, we need Spike forever, but Spike is also like the end of a legacy, like a family legacy. So I look at him and I'm always like, you're okay, right? You're going to be with us forever. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, $50,000 isn't that bad. I mean, I'd rather spend it on Spike than like a Birkin.
I just think it's like the University of Georgia. They're the Bulldogs. They have a mascot. It's a bulldog, and they have passed away as bulldogs do, and they get another one, and they say I think they call them Ugga for UG, Ugga 1, Ugga 2. Maybe you should have Spike 2.
I call
Electric Boogaloo. Just have the second Spike.
My new dog, Scruffy, I end up calling Baby number 2 a lot. She acts just like Baby. I think Baby sent her. I really do. They have the same personality.
Baby totally sent her.
Maybe you should let her have her own personality, her own life.
We are really underestimating the power of pets.
Thank you. Did you hear what he just said?
I don't care.
Attention diabetes patients. If you or a loved one experience
After the pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
It's Thursday, so you know what that means. Steph showed Tori some great deals from our friends at Morning Save. Check it out. Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Tori, and hey, DBL Nation. I have got some wonderful products and even better deals just for you, and I cannot wait to share them. So, first up, we've got Vanity Planet Work It Digital Scale and Body Analyzer.
Ooh.
So, this deal includes one scale body analyzer. So, this goes way beyond the standard scale by measuring weight, body fat percentage, muscle mass, bone density, and water weight. And you can even keep 8 different user profiles on this one scale.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. So normally it's $145. We've got it for only $39, saving you guys 73%.
You guys are going to weigh less with all those savings.
I love it. And Tori, we are both lovers of self-care, so listen up for this one. We've got Danielle Creation's 6-piece facial cleansing system. This deal includes 2 soft bristle brushes, 1 silicone brush, 1 buffing sponge, 1 automatic facial cleansing wand, and 1 travel case. And it comes in either pink or teal. And the water-resistant facial cleansing wand has 2 speed modes for a custom clean. The brushes will remove impurities on the surface of the skin and deep into the pores. The buffing sponge polishes for a radiant glow, and this system is suitable for all skin types.
This is like the new thing. Everybody's got to get this.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So normally, this is as much as $40, but we've got it, Tori, for only $19. That's a saving of 53%.
That's for all of that for $19 under 20. Okay.
And when you think how much a facial is,
yeah.
I mean, it's really not comparable. This is fantastic. Now, Tori, we've got the Fat Freezer Platinum Slimming Belt.
Gimme.
So this deal includes 1 slimming belt, look, like this. And I mean, nothing feels cooler than a healthy boost of confidence. So you can chill out, literally, with this non-invasive fat freezing device. So it safely delivers precise control cooling technology to gently and effectively freeze fatty areas.
Wow.
Optimum results are usually seen in as little as 4 weeks, and you can use this on other areas like your waist, your back, thighs, not only your stomach. So normally these are $150, but we've got it for $79, saving up to 47%.
I mean, can you imagine watching and binging your favorite show with this on your stomach, being like, I'm working out, kind of.
And last but certainly not least, we've got Adrienne Vitadini chain and lock detail crossbody.
Oh.
So this deal includes one crossbody, and we've got it available in 4 colors. We've got blush, ivory, black, and taupe. And this bag is the perfect everyday organizer. You can throw it over your shoulder as a crossbody, or you can use it as an oversized clutch.
Cute.
And I love the back zippered pocket.
Oh, nice.
Because it's perfect for your phone or keys. And the strap is adjustable and removable.
Oh, wow.
So normally, this bag is as much as $178, but this price is $29, saving everyone 84%.
Guys, get that and put the savings back in your new bag. That is fantastic. Head on over, everyone, to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. You can even visit morningsave.com right on your smartphone while you're slimming yourself with the belts. Thank you so much, Steph. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Teosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the Central Bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
Welcome back. A grandma is going viral on TikTok for spelling out her 4 red flags when it comes to dating. Watch.
This is my red flag list. If he doesn't hold the door for me, it's not that hard. If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him because I love bingo. If he doesn't keep enough of soup for me in the refrigerator, I always like soup and need soup. If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Okay. I love it. She knows exactly what she wants.
Absolutely. I mean, she didn't have to read any relationship books. She's like, if you're not into what I'm into, I have no beef with you, but I need somebody to go to bingo with. I think it's a good way to live your life.
I like it.
I can't believe she's so savvy on TikTok. I can't even do TikTok. Look at her.
I wouldn't admit that, but yeah. you just go to the app and push the button and it takes care of itself.
Okay. All right. Before we go, you guys, Erica, you have some really great news to share about an upcoming project. Tell us.
Ooh. Yes. As you guys know, I have a podcast called Come Back with Erica Cobb, and I am officially on the Ebony Podcast Network covering Black America. I am so excited. This is a major comeback for me to Ebony. Ebony was the first publication that ever printed me as a commercial print model. Wow. Ebony was the first publication to ever amplify my voice on this show. And I am so excited to be a part of the inaugural group of the Ebony Podcast Network. You can go to ebonypodcastnetwork.com. Of course, follow all of Ebony's platforms. And come to me, come back, because Comeback is here. Thank you to everyone who has supported me. Thank you.
Good job.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So, let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So, no, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
What we're talking about today on Daily Blast Live.
Heartbreaking images out of Ukraine as a soldier calls his mom to tell her he's okay, while another soldier walks through the streets with grenades. When will this war end? Florida's governor scolds students for wearing masks. Was this bullying? Kanye West takes another shot at Pete Davidson in a shocking new music video. Did he take it too far? And a grandma's dating red flags list goes viral.
If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Finally here, drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Lots to talk about today. It has been more than a week now since the war in Ukraine started. And one thing that's very different in this war, all the viral videos that show what it's like up close, like this dash cam video that captures a missile strike with clouds of black smoke. The driver turns his car around. Another video shows a Russian soldier, I know you must have seen this, it's been everywhere, carrying what looks to be grenades through a crowd of Ukrainians. Some say he was threatening to kill them if they didn't surrender. Others say he did it to prevent being taken hostage. There's also this video of an emotional Russian soldier drinking tea and eating food offered by Ukrainians. He also cries while talking to his mother on a video chat. Meantime, a number of mega yacht owners by rich and powerful Russian oligarchs have been seized by France and Germany. Again, totally different war, right? We talked about this earlier. What do you make of all this, Erica? And also all these viral videos?
Yeah, I think it's important that we are seeing these things in real time. I mean, anyone who watches any of this, I mean, you think about how difficult life is just in general. And you have your livelihood and your routine and all of that to just be taken away and what that looks like. You know, that is not just someone random person, like that's someone who could actually be you. And I talked about this yesterday in terms of the empathy, not only in this situation, but all of the nations, countries, communities that are under fire, under attack, under oppression. You know, this is a very real moment that people are feeling compelled to stop down and think about, at least think about what life would be like and maybe have some empathy that way.
Yeah, I think it humanizes people, to jump off of what Erica said. You see these videos of that Russian soldier being taken care of by Ukrainian people, right? When you think of the wars of the past, you think of communist countries being taught, having propaganda to hate one country or another because of whatever reason. With social media now, you're seeing the humanization of what this soldier's going through. Him talking to his mom, but you were there to kill these people, and now these people are taking care of you. What a I don't know, very symbolic, that moment. Also, the soldier saying goodbye to his family. I mean, you see these moments, and then when you think about we're in 2022, how could these moments happen? Why do you want to go kill somebody for no reason? Because they're a different race, color, sexuality, country, etc. It just really, I can't wrap my head around it. And I think that's why
Jeff,
people are confused.
we're seeing that they don't.
Yeah.
Right. You know, they don't. And I think that's because we have put a human face on it. I think when you
What do you think about the new tactics, though? Because I'm curious to hear your point of view of that. You're very cerebral, right?
I try
and this
to be.
is you are. This is a very cerebral way of fighting a war. They're going after oligarchs' yachts, things like that. Those are his buddies. Do you think those type of tactics are enough?
Well, we're going to find out, Sam. That's what we're going to find out if this can overcome just general propaganda that's been used to kind of start and propagate every war. Now we're going to see if videos like that young man talking to his mother, if videos like bombs going off near hospitals and maternity wards not only turn public sentiment in Russia, in Ukraine, but all over the world, in his cabinet. Because I think we're seeing now the humanity on both sides, because we see the humanity with that young man, but we also see that the oligarchs don't really spark up until you start talking about taking their yachts away.
Right.
When you're talking about
10,000,
100,000 people dying, they don't care. Hey, it's from Mother Russia. But when you start touching those super yachts, now it's like, hey, what are we doing here? So it kind of shows you where your leaders' priorities are. So not what they say, but how they react to when something's threatened with them.
Well said. Speaking, you talked about their leader. Let's talk a minute about the man responsible for this war, Russian President Vladimir Putin. There are a number of people from certain right-wing news outlets who are suggesting that the answer to stopping Putin is to assassinate him. They're asking, why not just take him out? They say it would put an end to all the death and horrible atrocities taking place across Ukraine. So the question is, and we've talked about this, but let's continue the conversation. Are we doing enough to stop Putin? And are they right that taking him out is a good way to end the war? What do you think, Jeff?
First of all, I think people, I don't know if we need to say what political party they're from. I think everybody's asking the question, why don't we just take Putin out? It's as easy as that. It's not as easy as that, right? There's generals in place. They know what's going on. There's repercussions. It's actually legal for war in war to just assassinate somebody. Illegal. I'm sorry. So we can't even do that legally, right? So we can't do that. But the point I wanted to make, which I totally forgot right now, and I wanted to get. I had a good point, and I totally forgot. I swear.
I'll just mention while you're thinking about it, just because you mentioned how it is illegal, I just want people to know that an executive order from 1976 made it illegal for the U.S. to carry out political assassinations. Now there is an alleged. There is an alleged, I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe we can get confirmation that there's $1 million hit on Putin with Russian individuals. So that takes us out of it. But then again, you also don't want to push someone to start a nuclear war.
You also don't want to tweet about it if you are going to assassinate somebody.
Right.
That would just be my thought.
Quickly, my thing was, if we do send soldiers over there and something happened to them and they ended up on YouTube being decapitated or whatever, or they died, how would that look to the American government, right? And you're kind of pushing a button when you go to assassinate somebody. So that's where the point I was making that I said so eloquently.
What do you think, Erica?
I'm just listening because I honestly, this conversation makes me so uncomfortable. So I'm just listening to understand like what your perspectives are, because I don't have a perspective on it. I feel very strongly about talking about anything on someone's life. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be in, and I think that we're not.
I have to just push back on that. Not to say that I feel a certain way, and I'm just really quickly, I got a confirmation from our producer that it's a Russian businessman that put a bounty on Putin. The fact that there are documented assassinations, torturing, poisoning of innocent people in Russia, and that Ukraine has already lost civilian lives, and that they could lose all of Ukraine if Putin had his way. For a lot of people, as callous as it sounds to talk about someone's life, I'm with you, Erica, and a bounty and assassinations, a lot of people feel like, well, what about all these people that he's already killed and that he's about to kill? So I think, I think it's an okay conversation to have.
I'm not saying that it's not an okay conversation to have. I'm just saying that my discomfort, I'm very uncomfortable talking about it, simply because, I mean, look at, like, let's just take it super fundamentally down to, let's say it was a neighborhood and you had someone who was running this neighborhood and no one else would ever try to take away their power because that person is just that powerful. Well, you can take that dude out, but there's going to be a dude right below him who now has to prove that he's bigger and badder than that other dude. So it's like, you know, it's like, it seems like the answer, but the truth is whoever comes up behind him is going to flex their muscle even more, because guess what? Putin wasn't really the man. I'm the man. So that's what I'm thinking about anytime we have these conversations. So it is uncomfortable for a lot of reasons, because I don't think that we as a nation are that far behind. We're already divided as it is, and this is a problem. So when we continue to have these conversations like this always affects somebody else, okay, cool. But when it's in our backyard where it's creeping up anyway, now we have to get real about what's happening here. Humanity is a great conversation if we're all willing to admit that we have it.
I was listening to you talk, and that's really, as you were talking, I started thinking about our failed war on terror. And it's almost the same thing when you're trying to fight against an ideology, not a person. We were like, oh, we're going to take bin Laden out. It's going to be great after that. It's not. It's the way people feel. You have to remove that from people in order to move forward. Killing a figurehead will only make them a martyr and make their message stronger. Because that almost solidifies, like, oh, they had to kill this person because what they were saying is right. So I understand the initial sentiment to just remove that issue, but the issue is that they're saying something that's resonating with a lot of people and has for a long time. And until we fight against the idea of what those people support and what Putin stands for, we're going to be right back here again with the stronger guy, with the younger guy, or woman, anybody that's willing to do more than Putin was. So, I mean, it
sounds like disinformation is the key. I mean, you talked about propaganda, you talked about brainwashing. That's exactly what you said. We don't know what that narrative has been like for the Russian people. When you brought up that viral video of the Russian soldier, he was saying, oh my gosh, I've been duped in Russian. And then it was translated in so many words that he has been duped, because for so long they've been watching Russian state TV and told, this is what we need to do, this is our country. So I think we need to remember that the disinformation that we talk about all the time on social media or whatever, wherever it may be, look what happened with, the insurrection. So that's what I think we need to be in control of globally, because then you're not going to get minions to follow their leader if they know what's really up. Well, that was a good conversation.
Great call.
All right, coming up on DBL, a new music video from Kanye West is being called disturbing. And did he go too far? Many of you guys are wondering if his jabs at Pete Davidson is, well, crossing the line. Plus, the most commonly hacked passwords. Find out if you're setting yourself up as a target online. Plus, Florida's governor scolds a group of students for wearing masks. Was this bullying?
Closed captioning provided by.
Let me.
This March, connect with Al, Tori, Erica, Jeff, and Sam. Oh my gosh, the real conversations are on DBL.
Man, you guys want all the smoke with these hard questions.
Yeah. DBL, all new, every day.
I wanted to hear more from you, Jeff. What are you thinking?
I kind of said what I was thinking. I don't think are we going to stay on that? I don't think assassinating Putin is the answer, right?
Okay.
Legally, you can't do it. And
What about from Russia's standpoint, not from our standpoint? Because there's some Russian businessmen that are trying to handle things their own way.
Listen, we as a country can't be involved in the world's problems all the time. I understand we want to go there. I understand we want to stop this man, but it's not the United States' job to be involved. If they get in one of our allied countries, which is NATO, which is on the eastern border of Ukraine, if they get into there, we're going to step in. Until they do that, I don't think it's our job to necessarily step in. But I think a lot of people watch movies, they see these things, they play video games, and they think this is how real life plays out. And that's not how it does play out. Sadly, there's going to be casualties. This is war. It's been happening since the world began, and you have to let it play out before we step in.
And just how casual people are throwing around like the idea of assassinating.
Yeah, it's like
there's a saying, if you come for the king, you better not miss. And there's a reason for that. It was also the title of one of my favorite episodes of The Wire. But it's like when they try to kill him, and it's like when they miss.
Every time I hear that show, I think about
when he jumped out of that window and lived, it's like, well, now the neighborhood's going to be on fire because you just tried to kill the man, and it's the same thing.
But
same
what if you educated
making.
that neighborhood? What if you educate Russia? And I don't mean educate.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Tell them about what's going on.
Because of the
Whose job is that?
disinformation.
Whose job is that?
I think TikTok is doing it.
I think it's our. Everyone's going to say this is a slippery slope and it's an infringement on rights. I really do think we need to have stronger regulation when it comes to disinformation globally, because we're all connected now.
But then
you can't just.
But if you have then what? You're going to go into North Korea and tell them what to do? I mean, it's like you can't monitor the whole.
Welcome back. As more and more states are dropping mask mandates in schools, some administrators are concerned that students who choose to wear masks could become targets for bullies. Given how politicized masks have become, some folks can't help but call out people who wear masks. Speaking of which, check out what happened at the start of a press conference for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them out. Honestly, it's not doing anything. We got to stop it. The governor just got it. So if you want to wear it, it's fine, but this is ridiculous.
Wow. All right. So does making masks a choice? Okay, Erica, you have an expression on your face. Go.
That's a meme.
It's just, I mean.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What's bothering you?
It's just the arrogance. It's like if someone wants to wear a mask.
Or not wear a mask at this point in the pandemic.
Right. But if someone is opting to wear a mask, just let them wear their mask. It's like we just let them wear their mask. They're clearly trying to protect themselves, maybe someone in their household. Maybe they do need to go home and take care of their 90-something-year-old parent. And you're going to come in somewhere and dictate what their health should or should not be? We already know you're wrong, Doc.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll take it from here. But here, to jump off Erica's point, yes, she edited herself. Yeah. To jump off Erica's point, I'm totally with you. Don't bully people into yes or no. And I have two quick examples. One, I was in Trader Joe's. By the way, it's not a nationwide thing to do that. It's not even a statewide thing to do that. It goes down from county to county, which is very confusing to everybody. Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Where I live, I don't have to wear a mask. If I go to Trader Joe's here, I have to wear a mask. I forgot to wear a mask one time. Some guy just assumed had a Trump flag on my car and jammed the whole box in my face. He's like, "Excuse me, sir, you could have a mask." And I was like, "I have one in my pocket, actually. I just totally forgot to wear it." And then he was like, "Oh." I didn't like that tactic that he used. I would have just put one on had I did not remember. Then I went to a Disney on Ice. This man was yelling at this 16-year-old about not wearing a mask because he knew he had to wear it in there, and I almost stepped in and said something. The way you ask people to, don't shame anybody for what their decision is. Just go about what your business is. That's where I wanted to go.
What do you think as a former, great point. What do you think about, as a former teacher, about kids being pressured almost to either wear, or should there not be such a loose call from the CDC?
I mean, look, kids are, I think, sadly and unfortunately, our kids have separated themselves from us more than we know. I think 15 and 16-year-olds understand that their parents, my generation, unfortunately, we didn't do anything about when people were shooting up their schools on a daily basis. We didn't do anything when there was an airborne pathogen, and we didn't do anything. We have not done anything for these children. And so I don't think that they look at Ron DeSantis as an authority figure. I don't think they look at, a lot of times, their parents as an authority figure, because respect has to be earned. And we did not do that in their eyes. And I understand that. I have kids that age, so I get it. And until we, as a unified front, as this generation of adults, 40, 50, late 30s, until we kind of get our act together and show a unified front to kind of usher this next generation in, they're going to figure it out for themselves, because we have no message for them. We have nothing. We just yell at them about everything, and we have no answers. And so why would they come to us for anything? And it's really disappointing, because I was looking forward to being the kind of adult that I looked up to, like my father. I'm sure I know your parents, just like kind of regal human beings that were flawed, but also like had some dignity to them. I feel like people are just arguing online,
right?
Like almost like our kids are.
Yeah,
It's a weird.
To that point, I think we are. We just point out the bad ones.
Coming up on DBL, are you setting yourself up to get hacked online? We've got a list of the worst passwords.
The pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Welcome back. Boy, do we have a relatable topic for you. Did you know that the average person has over 100 online accounts that require a password? Now, that's a lot of logins to remember, so it's totally understandable why most people would choose easy to remember passwords, but your go-to login might be easier to guess than you think. So take a look at the 5 most hacked passwords, okay? 3 are just simple number sequences, all right? Then we have QWERTY, the first 6 letters on the top row of the keyboard. And of course, the not at all secure password. You're shaking your head, Jeff.
I've had password as my password.
Oh my
For
gosh.
sure.
No, you didn't.
Listen, everybody out there has had password with an exclamation
I
point
never had
as a
password as
password.
my password.
We have to change it like every 2 months.
I'm over
here. Me too. And so just like password exclamation point.
Yes.
Say, yes.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore, Kelly, so don't think about getting in there. But yeah.
It is.
But I mean, it is too much. It's too much. And I mean, how easy is it to hack? Your kid's name, is that a password to anything? Yeah.
Listen,
your marriage date? Yeah, absolutely.
I forget my passwords all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really annoying because then I'm like, screw it. I'm not going to go on Facebook then. Or I'm not going to go here then. I guess I'm not going to pay this.
Yeah. This morning I bailed on working out because I couldn't get my password to work on the treadmill. So I was like, well, guess I can't work
It's like Drake's God's plan. That's what you do this morning. Yeah, it's a weird thing. 100 seemed like a lot, and I guess I don't know if anybody else does this. I kind of have the same password with different variations of it.
But then you
Is that
still
bad?
forget. No, but then you still forget, right?
I just feel like if somebody wants to get your stuff, they can. I'm like, I think a hacker would probably need 4 seconds.
Way to just wave the white flag. Like, if you want my stuff, just come and get it.
I'll tell you this, Erica. I've watched my youngest just use an iPad, and he touches it the way like somebody that's grown up with it his whole life moves it. Like I still mash it because I'm used to pushing buttons like an old person. He touches it like a violinist would. And I just think like if somebody was trying to get it into from that generation, they could do it. They'd be like, oh, Jeff, here, blah, blah. It would be 2 seconds. I guarantee you. So just try and keep anything you don't want to be seen offline.
Well, that's why second method authentication or whatever is so important for a lot of these things, because you get an alert, somebody's trying to get into your whatever. At least there's some type of security system.
I love that, I'm sure all phones have it, but like the iPhone memorizes your password. I'm like, yes. Right?
I can't.
Oh, yeah, like on your computer at home or something, yes.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
But if somebody steals your phone, then they have access to everything.
No. Then they have to get into my phone first.
They need to get the password to get in, but that's only one password for all the passwords.
Yeah.
You can't get into my phone because every 5 seconds it locks.
Yeah, I don't save passwords.
I was outside shoveling.
I don't. No.
You don't save passwords?
No, not the automatic
you
thing.
Have to remember them all?
I'm gonna have to.
Wow.
Well, remember back in
I gotta
the day,
protect my stuff.
We all
Real
remembered
gangster.
phone numbers.
Yes.
What's happened to us? We've devolved. How many phone numbers did we all remember in 5th grade?
I know all of my friends' numbers still to this day
Same.
from elementary
But
school.
passwords in
Yeah.
and out. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Warning for astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Terasophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the central bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
We have a lot of comments. Okay, in regard to DeSantis, Denise says, while I agree with DeSantis on the masks, it is wrong to take it out on kids. Bad look. In regard to phone numbers, Donnie says, I agree with Sam. We used to remember so many numbers, and now I can barely remember my own. Aaron says, I know my wife's phone number. That's it. You don't know anyone's phone number.
I remember my homeboy Donnie from Cleveland. I still remember his landline.
Well, what about current people?
No, nobody. Nobody, not even my
If you lost your cell phone, you wouldn't be able to contact anybody.
I got to call my boy Donnie.
Watch the second half of the show online. Watch on YouTube, dailyblastlive.com, or our DBL mobile app. Shout out to Donnie. But if you're sticking around, here's what's coming up. Did Kanye West go way too far? Why he's getting so much backlash for his new music video. And a grandma who knows what she wants in the dating world. You don't want to miss her hilarious list of red flags.
If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him, because I love bingo.
Amid the attacks in Ukraine by Russia, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted that, quote, Russian attacks on a kindergarten and an orphanage are war crimes. Soon after, the United Nations began discussing whether to investigate Russia's actions. Verify viewer Connie wants to know, does the UN have the authority to charge someone with war crimes? So, let's verify. Our sources are the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, Trial International, and Michael Scharf, Dean of the Case Western Reserve University School of Law, who has helped war crimes prosecutors research their cases. The concept of war crimes was created in the late 1800s, and today the UN generally explains it's when a warring party, like a country, systematically targets civilians.
They are not following the laws of war. They are being indiscriminate against the civilian population and military objects.
Trial International tells Verify in a statement that the UN can refer cases to the ICC and help prosecutors gather evidence, but it cannot prosecute cases on its own. The ICC and local court systems can prosecute individuals for war crimes, including the leaders who give the orders or soldiers who follow the commands. So, no, the UN does not have the authority to charge someone with war crimes, but it can make it easier for international prosecutors to make their case. ICC prosecutor Karim A.A. Khan said on February 28th he will open an investigation into the attacks in Ukraine because he believes war crimes and crimes against humanity have been committed. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Are you insane? This is a sham.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just stop.
Finally here. Drum roll. Welcome to DBL. So Max Chermakovsky, I'm so sorry, I always get that wrong.
You've been nailing it. I've been really impressed. That was the first time you ever stumbled. Give yourself some props.
Look at you two.
Really, every time it comes up on the prompter, I'm like, I don't know how to say that. So, yeah.
Well, Max safely made it back to the U.S. after his escape from a war-torn Ukraine. Max had an emotional reunion with his wife, Peta, at LAX yesterday. The two held each other for a long time, and Max even went back in for another kiss and hug. He told ET's Kevin Frazier how much he appreciates peace now because of what he just experienced. Erica?
You know, there is a conversation that's happening about Max right now that I'm very uncomfortable with. And I'm just going to put this out here, and I know that I might get backlash for it. That's fine, but I'm being super honest. If something were to go down in this country, I am not going to be the very first to volunteer to be on the front lines. I'm just going to be honest about that. So I am not going to judge someone for making the decision to leave and reunite with their family. But there's a lot of judgment about Max right now on social media, and I question if the same people who are putting that responsibility and judgment on his shoulders would be the first people to volunteer and be on the front lines, because that I can respect. But I'm fairly certain that most of those people don't fit into that category, so therefore his individual choice should be respected. It's just a very uncomfortable conversation for me.
I mean, Eric, since you're being honest, I'll be honest too. I was one of those people that at first questioned this. And, you know, because we look and we're saying anybody that can fight should fight. We've seen video of that older guy bringing that leather bag and those sandwiches, like 80, ready to get into it. And so when I saw a young, healthy man headed for the train station on a train packed with women and children, I felt some kind of way about that. I'm being completely honest. And then I did the kind of the work that you were just talking about. I was like, well, what would I do if I was looking at my 3 kids and saying, you know, you're probably never going to see me again? Do I want my children, especially when I have a special needs child, to grow by themselves? These are all decisions that I am able to make in an air-conditioned studio surrounded by my friends. I don't know what I would do. So I really question myself for questioning him. But, I mean, the optics didn't look great. But then when you stop and think about it and go, right, if you scratch underneath the surface, you realize there's a human being with all these things underneath, Jeff.
And that's what makes you a hero, right? You can't just, oh, I'm going to be a hero today. That Vasily Lomachenko going back in when he's at the top of his boxing game to fight, it's a special person. That's a hero. But you shouldn't shame anybody, right, unless you are that person going back in. There's a lot of tough guys on the internet, and all of them be like, oh, yeah, I'm down to fight for my country. But when the rubber hits the road, like you said, where are you going to be? Even if a fight broke out in front of those people, where are you going to be? You're heading for the door. So don't tell me about leaving your family and going to fight for your country, because you don't have that in you.
You mentioned leaving your family.
Right.
He is a 5-year-old. Would it change for you, or do you think most people, if they did not have kids?
Listen, for me personally, and I would take it very personally, to fight for my country is something I would want to show my kids, that I'm willing to die for you and your freedom. Okay, that's me personally, and I'm not trying to be a tough guy. That's when I see those videos of that father kissing his son goodbye, that's a man to me. Vasily Lomachenko at the top of his game does not need to go do that, but does anyway. That's a man to me, okay? Right. And my father fought, well, all of our parents fought in the war. That's a man to me, right? So I would want to replicate that for my children. And again, it would be a tough decision, but that's something that I would have to really mull over, saying you guys are going to have to do the rest of your life without me.
Right. And that's why you have a government in place to kind of keep you from having to make these decisions. That's
being faced with the weight of that decision.
Before we get there.
Yeah. All right, so Kim Kardashian, no longer a married woman. A judge declared Kim is now legally single and no longer married to Kanye West. But details of their divorce, like custody and property, still need to be worked out. Well, meantime, a lot of you have an opinion on this. Kanye has released his video for his song Easy that depicts a not-so-subtle reference to Kim's boyfriend, Pete Davidson. A warning to our viewers, these images may seem disturbing. In the video, a claymation Kanye kidnaps Pete, puts him on the back of a motorbike, buries him up to his neck. Take a look.
I got love for the nannies, but real family is better. The cameras watch the kids, I stopped taking the credit. Not custodial dad, I bought the house next door. What you think the point of really being rich for?
In the final scene, Kanye cuts the roses from Pete's head and drives off in a pickup truck full of flowers. As you may remember, for Valentine's Day, Kanye sent a truckload of roses to Kim's house with, quote, "My vision is crystal clear," written on the side. All right, Erica, did Kanye go too far?
Yes. I mean, we're asking now as if the whole threshold hasn't been broke a long time ago. I just want to be clear to people, because people find this to be entertainment, and I don't find it to be entertainment. I don't find it to be funny. I don't find it to be romantic. I find it to be very toxic, and it's also giving people a very dangerous message, because just because Kanye's famous and he has power and money and all this stuff, you try this at home, someone will be knocking on your door, and rightfully so, because that is a terroristic threat. You are enticing other people to be on your side and possibly put innocent people in danger. And just be very clear, it's always so weird to me when a parent, two parents get divorced or they break up or whatever, and you try to put the other parent in danger like that doesn't affect your children. Like, there is something seriously wrong here, and it's not entertaining at all.
A lot of psychologists have come forward saying this is post-separation abuse. That's what they call it. It's a form of domestic violence, and they're warning people to see this not as courtship or entertainment. No. This is abuse, and this is domestic violence, and this is serious. And also, I want to point out, too, that when Pete Davidson did go on Instagram a couple weeks ago, if you looked at his comments before he finally shut it off, you can see the what do you call it, like the picture of each user. The picture of each user was a black circle. Those are, Kanye's fan base. Literally every single comment was threatening him, telling him to get off. He ended up taking off his Instagram. According to Sean King, friend of the show, he posted that many of Kim's family members are now being threatened with rape and murder. So this is serious, and we're not even showing the worst of that video. In that video, you also see him hold up a decapitated head of Pete Davidson.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There's something clinically wrong here, and I'm a Kanye fan, right? Absolutely. But when you have that many followers, there's got to be one insane person that's willing to do something for you because they want to be closer to you. It's very dangerous stuff. The internet's very dangerous. Kanye has millions and millions of followers. I didn't even know he had a Bayhive type deal. Yeah. What's going on with my lip over
there? Well, don't say it. It's not a Bayhive.
It's not the Bayhive.
No.
But listen, Beyonce has a responsibility as well, and I don't want to bring her into this. So does Taylor Swift. So does everybody with a large platform. Anybody. If you do this kind of behavior and someone's like, oh, I'm going to be able to get closer to this celebrity if I do them this favor, that's how delusional some people are out there.
That's the worst case.
Right.
What about the case of just, let's say he wasn't famous, the fear?
Right. I mean, no, please, Erica, please.
That is just it. That is what makes me so angry and super uncomfortable, because there are people who are watching right now, who are in relationships that they have been intimidated out of leaving for this very same reason, because the devil that you know is always better than the devil that you don't. So if you don't think that this entire situation is playing out in real time in households all over this country, someone is sitting in it because they're like, well, at least I know if this happens, then they'll do this and I can respond this way. But if I pack up and I leave, then they'll threaten my family. They will come to my job. They will hunt me. They will never let me go. And this is what is happening. And we're calling it entertainment. People's lives are in jeopardy because of this. That's just the truth.
I completely agree, and I hope I'm not taking the wrong side here, but I do wonder what this would do to art when it comes to whether it's the red scarf with Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal. Am I saying that? Is that right? If you have this fan base, let's take Kanye out of this, and you talk about anybody, does that now make this off limits? If you're rappers that
no, this isn't. See, this is why I'm uncomfortable, because we're conflating art and stalking.
Right. Oh, I definitely think it's stalking.
This isn't art.
I definitely think it's stalking.
This isn't art. It's not about the red scarf. It's not about, this person has a lot of followers just like that person. No, these are two totally different things. Let's not even conflate the two. It is super dangerous. It's dangerous for people who are currently in the situation. It's dangerous for people who are coming up thinking that this is okay. I'm not going to stop saying it's dangerous. No conflating. No.
I mean, I definitely think it's dangerous. I just always worry about the precedent. It's always like when we pass a law about guns or something like that, everybody's like, oh, that's good. Erica, who's that law going to be used on? You know what I'm saying? So we know that the next step, they're going to come after somebody else. So I always worry about precedent. But I do, in this case, when he bought the house across the street, when we covered that a month ago, I was like, that's super weird when people thought that was funny. That's his behavior is strange and off-putting. But I'm just saying in terms of the art and what you can say in a musical track in this type of genre, I just wonder where it's going to stop.
Yeah. Well, good conversations. Coming up on DBL, we're going to switch gears. Is cloning your pet a good idea? We're going to talk about that next.
Closed captioning provided by Poshmark.
Want to be on camera?
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're just, you can listen. Megan, our senior producer, is going to go ahead and educate us on
For
the
what's
next
next?
block.
Yes. So we're going to talk about cloning pets. There's two.
We need to get a speech.
We need to get it. Yeah, a little bit. Because I want to give you some facts if you want to bring them up.
Yes.
So you're going to talk about two, a cat and a dog that were cloned.
Where?
And they in the United States, in Texas.
Don't tell the name because Sam will.
No,
And so
let's
you'll
get us
share
off on a
them, you'll see
tangent.
video of them in a side by side, okay? And you'll share some points about them, okay? Then the discussion is going to be like, would you ever do this? So here's some pointers that you can do. Barbara Streisand actually cloned her two dogs several years ago, so this is like a thing. This
Are
is
they
not
still
a new
alive?
thing.
Was there any sort of like?
Oh yeah, they're still alive. I read that the place only puts down animals that come out genetically not correct. It
So there's
costs
trial and
now-
error.
Kind of, yes. And they can come in litters, like dogs come in litters, so they had multiple dogs. So, but it costs $50,000 to do a dog, and it costs $35,000 to do a cat.
How far away are humans? An animal
I
that
don't
looks
know.
just like the
Don't. I
last
don't
one.
wanna.
Where do they go?
No, I'm saying,
Where
like,
do
how
they
far
go?
off are humans?
What do you mean, where
Like,
they go?
where do you go to get it?
If they wanted
There's a
to?
clinic. There's a
Just
pet
no one
cloning clinic.
practices?
Where?
Texas. One in Texas.
That's the only one?
No, there's another one. There's more. But the big one is
Yeah.
is in Texas.
Thank
the
you.
woman with the cat.
Thank you.
So.
Freaky.
Yeah, but it's just freaky.
I get the temptation. I just wouldn't do it, but I get the temptation.
And is it really the same dog?
Right. Do they have the same personality? Right, but what about personality, soul?
Where do dogs even have those?
Of course they do. Yes, they do.
That's hilarious.
When they see, are you?
This is
How
going to
come
be
when they? Why does when a
This is
dog
gonna be
comes
a
and remembers
ghost
it?
story.
Our Christian,
Me and
our
Erica-
senior EP just said, "Do dogs have memories?" Yes.
The dog doesn't know where it is.
Yes, they do.
Save it for the show.
How far would you go to keep your pet? Owners who couldn't bear to say goodbye to their four-legged friends are taking to social media to show off their cloned cats and dogs. Kelly Anderson, who is an Instagram pet influencer, cloned her cat Chai, after Chai unexpectedly died in 2017. Kelly sent a sample of Chai's DNA to a Texas-based pet cloning company, paid $25,000, and 4 years later, Chai's identical genetic clone named Belle was born. And this woman cloned her wolf dog, Willow, who died in 2018. The cloning process gave life to her new dog, Phoenix, as well as 5 more. Wow, genetically identical copies in 2019.
So they sent this company $25,000 and they sent a white cat over there.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess we know how long it took to find an exact copy. Yeah. You got to hit every shelter in.
There's more differences than just like.
How would she know? It's their breeds. Like, they all look the same. That's why they're breeds. You can tell. You can just get one that looks just like it.
I knew every single hair, spot, eyelash, flaw on my old dog Baby that I had for 18 years. I would know
Would
in a
you have gotten
heartbeat.
Baby cloned? Because I know how close you guys.
I would have fantasized about it because that was my baby. Literally, when I lost her, I felt like I lost a child, and I still think about her and mourn her every single day. But no, I would not clone her. I don't.
Why not? Because I
don't
think you're
it's
a
ethical.
passionate. I would think this would be for somebody like you. I'm
It's
not even joking.
ethical in my opinion.
Why not?
Because there's a lot of trial and error involved. Not every single one of those dogs or cats make it. So then you're killing dogs and cats too. If they come out genetically not what they wanted with some sort of deformity, they have to put that dog or cat down. That's not right.
Yeah, I don't,
Oh, Erica's considering
in my mind, I'm like, we need Spike forever, but Spike is also like the end of a legacy, like a family legacy. So I look at him and I'm always like, you're okay, right? You're going to be with us forever. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, $50,000 isn't that bad. I mean, I'd rather spend it on Spike than like a Birkin.
I just think it's like the University of Georgia. They're the Bulldogs. They have a mascot. It's a bulldog, and they have passed away as bulldogs do, and they get another one, and they say I think they call them Ugga for UG, Ugga 1, Ugga 2. Maybe you should have Spike 2.
I call
Electric Boogaloo. Just have a second Spike.
My new dog, Scruffy, I end up calling baby number 2 a lot. She acts just like Baby. I think Baby sent her. I really do. They have the same personality.
Baby totally sent her.
She did.
Maybe you should let her have her own personality, her own life.
We are really underestimating the power of pets.
Thank you. Did you hear what he just said?
I don't care.
Attention diabetes patients.
After the pandemic, many people had large medical expenses last year. So some are wondering, can you deduct medical expenses on your federal taxes? Let's verify. Our source is Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service and the IRS.
For most Americans, it's not something that you generally see.
Stieber tells us most people won't deduct their medical expenses because you need to have large medical bills in order to make it worthwhile. According to the IRS, you can deduct only the amount of your total medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. You can figure out that number by filling out this form known as a Schedule A Form 1040.
So basically, you take your income with a couple of modifications, multiply that by 7.5%, and you can take as a tax deduction the amounts over that.
The IRS says those deductible medical care expenses may include costs for diagnosis, cure, treatment, prevention of disease, and more. To qualify for the deduction, Stieber says it would have to be a large amount of money, usually for a catastrophic medical condition. However, some seniors may be eligible.
It can also apply to people like seniors who may have low income because they may be retired and have higher medical costs.
Here's the tricky part. You can only claim medical deductions if you itemize. And for most people, the standard deduction will result in a lower tax payment or a higher refund. You can calculate your return both ways and then see which gives you bigger bang for the buck. So we can verify that yes, you can deduct medical expenses, but only if the amount of your total medical expenses exceeds 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, and only if you choose to itemize. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
It's Thursday, so you know what that means. Steph showed Tori some great deals from our friends at Morning Save. Check it out.
Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hi, Tori, and hey, DBL Nation. I have got some wonderful products and even better deals just for you, and I cannot wait to share them. So, first up, we've got Vanity Planet Work It Digital Scale and Body Analyzer.
Ooh.
So, this deal includes one scale body analyzer. So, this goes way beyond the standard scale by measuring weight, body fat percentage, muscle mass, bone density, and water weight. And you can even keep 8 different user profiles on this one scale. Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. So normally it's $145. We've got it for only $39, saving you guys 73%.
You guys are gonna weigh less with all those savings.
I love it. And Tori, we are both lovers of self-care, so listen up for this one. We've got Danielle Creation's 6-piece facial cleansing system. This deal includes 2 soft bristle brushes, 1 silicone brush, 1 buffing sponge, 1 automatic facial cleansing wand, and 1 travel case. And it comes in either pink or teal. And the water-resistant facial cleansing wand has 2 speed modes for a custom clean. The brushes will remove impurities on the surface of the skin and deep into the pores. The buffering sponge polishes for a radiant glow, and this system is suitable for all skin types.
This is like the new thing. Everybody's got to get this.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So normally, this is as much as $40, but we've got it, Tori, for only $19. That's a saving of 53%.
That's for all of that for $19 under 20. Okay.
And when you think how much a facial is, I mean,
Yeah.
it's really not comparable. This is fantastic. Now, Tori, we've got the Fat Freezer Platinum Slimming Belt.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
So this deal includes one slimming belt, look, like this. And I mean, nothing feels cooler than a healthy boost of confidence. So you can chill out, literally, with this non-invasive fat freezing device. So it safely delivers precise control cooling technology to gently and effectively freeze fatty areas.
Wow.
Optimum results are usually seen in as little as 4 weeks, and you can use this on other areas like your waist, your back, thighs, not only your stomach. So normally these are $150, but we've got it for $79, saving up to 47%.
I mean, can you imagine watching and binging your favorite show with this on your stomach, being like, I'm working out, kind of.
And last but certainly not least, we've got Adrienne Vitadini chain and lock detail crossbody.
Oh.
So this deal includes one crossbody, and we've got it available in 4 colors. We've got blush, ivory, black, and taupe. And this bag is the perfect everyday organizer. You can throw it over your shoulder as a crossbody, or you can use it as an oversized clutch.
Cute.
And I love the back zippered pocket.
Oh, nice.
Because it's perfect for your phone or keys, and the strap is adjustable and removable.
Oh, wow.
So normally, this bag is as much as $178, but this price is $29, saving everyone 84%.
Guys, get that and put the savings back in your new bag. That is fantastic. Head on over, everyone, to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. You can even visit morningsave.com right on your smartphone while you're slimming yourself with the belt. Thank you so much, Steph. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
For astrology content creators on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook has gone viral.
These social media platforms are beginning to take the necessary steps in order to ban that type of content altogether.
The TikToker in the video makes astrology content and has nearly 500,000 followers. In the video, the self-described true crime astrologer claims the platforms will ban astrology, horoscope, and tarot content through changes to a popular targeted advertising strategy. Similar claims were made on Twitter. So let's verify. Are Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok banning astrology and tarot content? Our sources are TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, as well as a statement from an association of tarot professionals. Representatives for TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, confirmed the platforms are not banning astrology and tarot content. Tarosophy Tarot Association is a professional group for tarot card readers. In a February 15th Facebook post, they called the alleged ban misinformation. So we can verify, no. Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are not banning astrology and tarot content. The claim appears to stem from a change in some online advertising features.
And it states on March 17th, 2022, they will be discontinuing targeted options for astrology, horoscope, and tarot.
Ad targeting allows advertisers on Facebook and Instagram to tailor campaigns to specific groups of people based on user data, like age, hobbies, and interests. In November 2021, Meta said some of the more specific targeting categories could be used, quote, in ways that lead to negative experiences for people in underrepresented groups, unquote. So they're eliminating some of them. But Meta confirmed that this change does not ban or block astrology content. Instead, it limits the type of people advertisers can target with their campaigns. So go ahead and share your horoscope. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till.
The U.S. and its allies have leveled harsh economic sanctions in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. The West has cut off the Central Bank of Russia, cut Russian access to the U.S. dollar, and barred Russian banks from access to SWIFT, a worldwide system for banks to conduct transactions. Western allies have also frozen Russia's access to $600 billion in foreign reserves, which was supposed to be its buffer to sanctions. And this is having a devastating effect on the Russian economy. The value of the Russian ruble plunged, Russian interest rates are soaring, and long lines formed at Russian ATMs as people there try to get as much cash out while they still can. And the pain won't end soon. Russia doesn't have a lot of options or willing allies to help loosen the stranglehold on its economy. While China and Russia have developed close economic ties, some Chinese banks are already pushing back on processing certain transactions.
Welcome back. A grandma is going viral on TikTok for spelling out her 4 red flags when it comes to dating. Watch.
This is my red flag list. If he doesn't hold the door for me, it's not that hard. If he doesn't like bingo, I don't date him because I love bingo. If he doesn't keep enough of soup for me in the refrigerator, I always like soup and need soup. If he doesn't call me pretty all the time, I don't want nothing to do with him.
Okay. I love it. She knows exactly what she wants.
Absolutely. I mean, she didn't have to read any relationship books. She's like, if you're not into what I'm into, I have no beef with you, but I need somebody to go to bingo with. I think it's a good way to live your life.
I like it.
I can't believe she's so savvy on TikTok. I can't even do TikTok. Look at her.
I wouldn't admit that, but yeah. you just go to the app and push the button and it takes care of itself.
Okay. All right. Before we go, you guys, Erica, you have some really great news to share about an upcoming project. Tell us.
Ooh. Yes. As you guys know, I have a podcast called Comeback with Erica Cobb, and I am officially on the Ebony Podcast Network covering Black America. I am so excited. This is a major comeback for me to Ebony. Ebony was the first publication that ever printed me as a commercial print model. Wow. Ebony was the first publication to ever amplify my voice on this show. And I am so excited to be a part of the inaugural group of the Ebony Podcast Network. You can go to ebonypodcastnetwork.com. Of course, follow all of Ebony's platforms. And come to me, come back, because Comeback is here. Thank you to everyone who has supported me. Thank you.
Good job.